What is up, everybody? And yeah, I got a lot of CE drops. What do you want? Thank you, Looking Glass Knight, for the 165 bits. So yeah, you know how I have been saying for a while now that I wanted FGO to lose money so they would potentially try harder. Like generally, you got to get kicked in the pants to get off your ass, right? And I was thinking like 15%, drop in the profits. Maybe, oh no, maybe, dare I say, 25%. But no. Their financial report just came out and they lost 81% of their profits. Like, what? And to be clear, I've seen a lot of people say like, well, last year they made way more than you would expect, and so that's part of it. But not really, because the year before that, they also made an insane amount, and the year before that, they also made an insane amount. I mean, they went down from making $1 billion in profit now to 12 million. Like, that is shit. Like, I mean, it's now to be clear though, it's profit, not revenue, right? The game generated more money than 12 million. But after paying themselves and everyone else and blah, 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 their profit was only 12 million. I say only, but still, considering they were $1 billion before that, it's massive. Yeah, it could be, Ari, it could be, but I doubt it. Because I knew this was coming. Anybody that looked at like the app reports, it was obvious that this was coming. I just didn't think it was going to be like this. So some of it is definitely that area where they're putting some of the money in other things. But from where the financial report was looking, it's a lot of it's just the game making a lot less money. And like I've seen the biggest response. That's funny, Ari. That's one of the best takes I've seen though, because basically everyone on Reddit was saying, "Oh, it's Corona," and most people were saying that it's clearly not just Corona, but everyone's saying Corona is playing a part in it. But actually, that's bullshit. So the industry at large has been reporting overwhelmingly, this is very clear, that the video game industry at large has actually made more money than ever since Corona. And that's because a lot of people are, you know, stuck at home and they can't go out to the movies or play putt-putt golf or, you know, whatever the fuck. Yeah, the Tokyo Dome, I'm sure, did not help. But I doubt, there's no way that they were, whatever they had planned to do at Tokyo Dome was going to cut into that much of $1 billion in profit, right? Because it's not like, if they had actually done what they wanted to do at the Tokyo Dome, it's not like that would have actually made them any money back, and they knew that, right? Like, you don't, like, there's some wiggle room for, yeah, you know, this, that, and the other, but 81%, like, that, you know, that's insane. I mean, going for over $1 billion in profit down to 12 million. That is called colossal fuck up. And again, I really have to stress this. The video game industry has been making more money than ever. Like, again, because of Corona, people are more willing to play video games than a lot of other things right now. I don't know about that area because a lot of other gacha games have been doing so well, right? Like, you know, obviously Genshin Impact, you know, kind of blew the fuck up, but that's kind of, you know, that was like the hype game, right? But even a lot of other games have been doing better, and it's just, like I say, just obvious when you look at the app earnings reports, you know, that we've had from Apple and Android. You know, FGO's been going down and down, and even when they are high on it, they're not nearly, the gap between them and like the other places is so much smaller than it was. I mean, I'm just not surprised by this. Like, I'm surprised that it's this large. I will say I was shocked that their profits went down that much. But I mean, how could if you really ignore all the Tokyo Dome, all these other things, and I'm sure that, you know, that's not going to help them, of course. But when you look at how they handled the game over the last year, you can't be surprised that they lost out on profit, right? There's been fuck all hype content, right? There's been so many reruns. There's been, you know, a lot of very poor received events that are quite lazy. It's just the same formula. You can't tell me a game that's just rehashing the same formula over and over and over and over and over and over again and never innovating and never adding anything is going to, you know, be more profitable, right? We got 2 main stories in a year. We've had almost no welfares. It's so unsurprising to me that they lost money. Well, they didn't lose money. I guess they just lost in profit, right? But I am surprised that it's this big. And I'm actually, so on the one hand, I'm happy that they got their ass kicked because, you know, and it's with that last interview that they just gave, they're clearly trying to, you know, get themselves together and compete with the other games better. And that's good. But on the other hand, I'm actually, like I said, I wanted them to lose like 15% of their profits, 20% of their profits, something like that. Not 81%. Like, that's actually worrying because that's such a large amount. That's when you start seeing things like, you know, the publisher wants to step in and start forcing them to do things, and the publisher has no idea what they're talking about, and that's when you start seeing, like, you know, panic mode and that kind of thing. So I'm a bit worried about that, right? Like, they lost out on so much that I'm worried it's gonna, you know, make them do stupid things or go into, you know, savings mode or something like that. Yeah, I got Dragon Ball Z game. I've actually beaten them a lot, actually, here lately. But it's not like, you know, I don't really like a lot of things in that game, the way it's designed. But like, as Rex said, at least they try things, and they're not lazy. I'm not sure. I don't know if the earnings report stopped before Castoratoria or not. Now, even if it did stop before she came out, it's not like there's no one rate up that's going to like turn around an 81% drop. Like, that's not a thing, right? Like, you might go from, okay, they made about $12 million in profit last year, okay? So with Castoria, maybe it'd be 13 or 14 million, maybe, right? But potentially not. It's pretty easy to see that maybe it wouldn't even be that much of a boost, right? So yeah, I actually, I can pretty much guarantee you it's not that much of a boost, because this is just a fact. The amount of free SQ they gave out for Castoratoria during the anniversary event was enough for the entire player base to each have at least a 50% chance of getting her free to play, right? And that's if they had nothing saved up, nothing. And quite a few players did have SQ saved up. So and so anyone that cared to get her had over a 50% chance of getting her for free. So, you know, that's not gonna do that much for your profits. Now, sure, whales are gonna go for MP5 and all these other things, and some people are gonna get unlucky, but some people aren't gonna care and, you know, and not gonna even go for it in the first place and stuff. So I'm sure Cast Territoria made them some money, sure, but I don't think it made them that much money. I really don't. She'll make them a lot on her second rate up, though. Just like how Merlin was, I figure. Alright, I should be like clearing the map while I yap. Anyway, but the good news is they gave an interview, right? And they're showing no signs of like, you know, giving up or, you know, they're like, yeah, you know, game's not going anywhere. And, you know, I guess good for them, but yeah. I'm a little worried because, seriously, there's no world where Aniplex and Sony aren't raising the world's biggest eyebrow when you have a game for 3 years straight just making insane profits and go over $1 billion in profit in a year, go down to 12 million. Like, I mean, that is just a cult. I mean, that's like, you got the graph, right? That's just a sharp downward, you know, drop. Like, there's no way Sony and Aniplex aren't going to be like, you know, hold on a second, right? And that's not really a good thing. So, thankfully, Type Moon, the way the contract is, from what I understand, there's a lot of stuff that Sony and Aniplex can't do, even if they wanted to. And the one company that probably doesn't care that much about this is Type Moon. You gotta understand, Type Moon is a very small company, right? And they just out of nowhere started making ungodly profits this game. I legit don't think they care, right? They're like, wow, I can't believe we made this money off this game. You know, FGO could explode tomorrow, and I don't think Type Moon's gonna be crying, considering just, you know, they literally have made so much money from it, they're kind of set for life. Yeah, a lot of people don't know the difference between profit and revenue. The game, you know, obviously still generated loads in revenue, but a lot of that, you know, went into their own costs and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, because you can have a product, doesn't have to be a game, but you can have a product generate a lot of revenue and actually go in the red, right? And it just means you weren't, you know, although you were selling stuff and making money, it wasn't, you know, profitable. It wasn't going into the, you know, you wasn't paying for your bills or your employees or your housing or whatever, you know, the costs for the company are. But I will say, as scary as this is, and I truly wish they had not lost that much money. This is blatantly going to make them shake things up. And that could be for the worst, right? This could actually result in, you know, horrific things, and it could be very bad. But it's a chance for them to actually try harder, and because right now they really are getting destroyed by other games, like in terms of quality and effort. Which this is the thing. This is why I think it's really stupid that they've lost this much money, because when it's pretty much easier to make money when you've got money. It's a sad thing, and a big part of FGO's problem are things that money solves, right? It's not necessarily, because some things money won't fix, right? So here's an example. You got like World of Warcraft, right? That game used to be like this juggernaut of like the amount of players it had. Although it still makes really good money now, but that's because microtransactions and all that. But it has way less players now than it used to. But ever since that game started making an ungodly amount of money, there are certain areas where, as much as like I don't really like World of Warcraft, there are a lot of areas where it's clearly not putting the money to waste. You know, they've ever since they've had good money, they've always hired top of the line artists. You know, like World of Warcraft or not, you cannot, their artists do amazing work, right? Like every time they make zones and stuff, it's very inspired and it's actualized so well. And I don't just mean the 2D artists that do like the concept art and everything. I mean, they're 3D artists that actually make the stuff in game. They do an amazing job. Like again, I don't like World of Warcraft, but there's no world where I'm like, wow, yeah, these artists suck. No, they hire god tier artists, and I don't mean just again for the designs like on paper. I mean like their actual in-game artists do phenomenal work. Their music, they do phenomenal. Like there's a lot. They put polish into that game, like the game or not. They're using that money and ensuring that they've got, you know, the game is there's no way around this. That game is optimized. It can run on a potato, right? That thing is optimized as good as like a game can be, you know. And then every time they make new content for it and everything, they always put a lot of effort into optimizing it. So they're not, when it comes to the technical side of things and like the UI and the art and optimization, they're not wasting their money, right, at all. They've got, you know, they do top of the line polish, right? And that is what someone would expect of a game with as much money that as Activision Blizzard has, right? And then with DW and Aniplex, which is owned by Sony, it's the same thing. I mean, you had a game that was unbelievably profitable for 3 years straight. Previous year was over $1 billion in profit, and the year before that was like, quite close to that as well, like just massive profit. So again, you expect, and rightfully so, for this money to go into, a certain level of polish when it comes to optimization, UI design, in-game art, and those kinds of things. But I think FGO has completely failed on that front. I think it completely, right? And I'm biased in FGO's favor. I want things to be awesome. I like the Fate IP a lot, but I've been so disappointed in this last year at how underwhelming the animation updates have been, and like how little animation is actually being done, and how much like paper mache bullshit they've been doing, and just how few animation updates there have been, and how awful the UI is. Like such basic fundamental stuff in this game still doesn't work properly. Nice command code UI, and like how underwhelming the events are. They're literally using, this is just a fact, they're using the same format as NeroFest 1. Let that sink in. I don't mean NeroFest 2, which everyone thinks is NeroFest 1. I mean actual NeroFest 1. They're using the exact same event format as that. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're 5 years in, and that's still your event format. That's just crazy. That doesn't make any sense. And again, it's not like they weren't struggling for cash there. They had 3 years of just unbelievable profits, and they're just coasting. They basically reskinned. This game has like 4 or 5 event styles that are all very similar to each other, by the way, and they just keep slapping a new coat of paint on those 4 or 5 events over and over and over again, with a few very rare exceptions, right? There have been a couple events that are truly different and inspired, like, Setsubun and stuff like that, but generally it's the same shit over and over again. Yeah, profit is basically revenue after costs, right? It's what you take away in the green, right? It's stuff that's not going into maintaining or paying your debts or anything like that. So, revenue is just money game made, or money product made. Profit is money that is actually not, allocated to, we had to pay this artist this much, we had to pay the rent, we had to pay the electricity, we have to pay our employees, we have to, those things, right? So, it's your takeaway, if you will. It's just like a person, right? If you have a job, right, it gives you a certain amount of money, but a lot of that money you're not getting to keep. A lot of that money you put into food, you put into paying your water bill, your electric bill, your internet, so on and so forth, right? Then so you only have so much, that you get to keep. So yeah, I know I've said this a lot, Shadow, and this is something I do not think they will do, because generally when companies get in situations like this, they don't think to do stuff like this. And from what I've seen, DW is not that large of a company, right? They're decently sized, but they have not hired that many like new engineers and in-game artists from what I've seen. They've definitely hired some from what I've seen, but not. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't think they have that huge of a team. And so for an example, someone getting into this game, and plenty of people try this game out. I see people in my chat all the time like, hey, I'm new to the game, and they want advice and stuff, right? So anyone that's new to the game, they're not going to see the latest and greatest stuff. They ain't seeing no Zeet. They're not even going to be doing half the events that come out when they first get going, right? They're going to be, this is what they're going to be doing. This stuff right here. This stuff right here is awful. Not only is it awful, but it's aged like a turd, right? So like, for example, Oceanus here. When Oceanus came out, the majority of the player base was kind of expected to be in the level 30 to 40 range, maybe 50. And so a lot of the content is designed for that. But the game is so different now, and leveling is so much easier now, that you're generally going to be much higher than like level 40 when you do Oceanus. And not only are you going to be higher than level 40 most likely on at least 1 or 2 units, but everyone on your support list is going to be so much higher than that. I'm sure you NA players remember this, and I know this because I know kind of seen how both games were. NA was inflated as fuck because NA started with dailies and stuff like that, so NA could level way faster than JP could, and so NA was way higher level by the time Oceanus came out than the average people. But even then, I'm sure y'all remember when you first started playing NA, when the NA server had just launched and you were doing like Orleans, most stuff on your friends list was, kind of random. It was like, 30, 40, maybe a couple guys that, higher than that. But it wasn't, you couldn't summon just like a wall of 90s, right? But then by the time you got to Oceanus, it was pretty much all max ascended stuff, right? But JP wasn't like that, and the content wasn't scaled for that. But now imagine everything's like that. You're doing Orleans. So look, I've started Orleans free quest. Obviously, you'd be doing the main quest. But look at this. Like, what am I gonna summon that's not ungodly overpowered, right? Literally everything on this support list, every single thing on this support list could solo every single stage in Orleans, and pretty easily, right? And it's one thing if you're gonna beat the stage, but you're not even gonna be engaged with that at all, right? Like that's gonna be boring. And then again, the content is really simple. They don't have any break bars. There's no gimmicks. You're not going to learn a damn thing. And then you're going to get to Gwen, and you're going to, still be used to this just, boring go to sleep combat system. And then all of a sudden, Gwen kills you, and then you think the game is cheap, right? I've seen it happen endlessly. Just endlessly that happens in this game. And it is so worth the time and effort for them to, put a few people on the team on just touching up the beginning of the game, and then maybe also carrying that over into like a new game plus mode, right? You can kind of do the touch up for both at the same time and just twink the stat lines, right? It's so worth it to do that. And what most games do when their early game becomes shit, they just allow people to cheese it really easy. That's their answer to old, out-of-date content, and that's what they've already done. They did the support system where you can summon somebody even if they're not on your friends list, right? With the follow system, excuse me. That's their, just get the beginning over with button, right? But that doesn't get new players in. New players don't want to play a game and just have everything feel like you're supposed to pass it up and rush to the end game. No, most people are just going to get bored and stop playing, right? So you want those servants people are summoning at the beginning, to not look like crap. So animation updates, and it really is. I think everything up to like Camelot at least needs to be revamped. Right, and you need to cut a lot of the filler. There's so many filler stages. Seriously, look at Lost Belt 5 and then look at fucking, like, Orleans, in London. There's just so much more filler in the old stuff. Like, there's just so many stages of LOL, I'm just grinding through glorified free quests, right? Nobody wants that. So, it is so worth it for them to touch up, cut out some of the filler, make a few twinks here and there, maybe add a break bar, some really mild gimmicks. Nothing too crazy, but enough gimmicks to kind of incentivize people to actually do some basic team building and whatnot, and just make the game not, crap. And then while you're at it, you make it so the rewards are better too. So people aren't like, oh, I need to go stop and grind for a month, right? Make sure when you beat a main boss in the main story, they drop some ascension nats and some XP, so you kind of have a nice smooth curve getting through things. And this doesn't even take that much work. You're gonna have to put a bit of effort into this, but a lot of it's just changing things on paper and tweaking numbers. And that kind of thing. And in terms of boss gimmicks, you can literally just reuse old boss gimmicks. You don't have to make that much new stuff for it. So it's like, it's mostly about planning. In terms of actual effort, it wouldn't be that bad. And I really think they should do it, right? You really need a good new player experience. It's so important. Like, especially when you compare it to all the newer games out there and stuff, because that's new players, it's not the same as it's your current player base, right? They're going to be comparing it to all the other games out there. And, the early game in the FGO is just, it's laughable. There's a million ways to 3-turn. There's so many ways to do that. Actually, I don't think a lot of the fan base, I think whales have so inflated what people think of this game, right? And I'm telling you, and this is obvious when you go to like the conventions and stuff, and like Toho Snappers talked about this, how when you actually see just the regular people playing the game, they don't do this stuff. There's so many people that don't, the majority of the fan base doesn't use Reddit, they don't use Discord, they don't use any of it. The overwhelming majority of the FGO player base doesn't interact with any of that stuff, and they're not worrying about 3-turning, they're not worrying about all that efficiency garbage, they're just playing the goddamn game, and they're normally just using their favorite servants and whatnot, right? All this bullshit, oh my god, you have to 3-turn everything stuff, that is a very specific part of the player base, and obviously the player base that kind of represents the game to the community, at large, if you will, like to the people that use Discord and Twitter and all those things, right? But it's just not most people. By the way, I should have fired that one space up. I think that was not the best shot right there. Oh yeah, dailies are a whole nother problem, and I've talked about that many times. Dailies need serious attention because their AP costs are laughable, their rewards are laughable. Like, there's a million and one things wrong with the way the dailies are. Like, they're too easy, their drops are too bad, their AP costs are too high. Like, they don't even have newer materials in them and stuff. There's just a million things wrong with the dailies. The dailies are like 3.5 years old or something like that. You gotta remember, NA got them a lot sooner than JP did. JP didn't get them, I think, until like Go West. Oh, what is it, Beast? I'm kind of curious. Yeah, I want to know. I'm not gonna figure that shit out on my own. Fuck that. I don't even have a PS5. Even if I got one, I would never figure it out. Is it seriously Penetrator's armor? Like, if you're trolling, I'm gonna slap you, but if that's real, that's awesome, because Penetrator's, like, the best, thing ever. It is? Wow, that really makes me happy, because, that's, like, my favorite armor set, and, they've always made it not in the game, so... That's a slight boost to me wanting to get a PS5, because, yeah, that's fucking awesome. Let me see this. Wow, that is... out of all that's a great thing to put there, by the way. Because a lot of other things, like that's something the community's wanted for so long. So how do you get it? Like what was the? Because I'm sure people had to jump through hoops to figure that out. That's super cool. That's super cool. I feel like though they're really fucking over Tower Knight fans then though. Like I would have added both. Like I would have just added both sets. You have to find a bunch of coins in mirrored mode. Interesting. Sounds like a pain in the ass, but I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Anyway, back to FGO. But yeah, so on the bright side though, FGO has acknowledged that people want story replay. It sounds like they're not even working on it though. It's something that they might work on in the future though. It takes at least 3 playthroughs. Jesus. Anyway, but so, you know, story replay is something we might actually see eventually. You know, they said that they know a lot of the game systems are really out of date, and they're going to try to work on those. And then they also said they're going to try to fix the UI for the command codes, because that's obviously so bad. So, yeah, those are good starts, but none of those things are going to bring in new players, right? Like, that's more about, you know, story replay is a quality of life thing for your hardcore players that have, you know, that you're trying to keep playing, right? That's which is good, sure, but, you know, in no world is story replay gonna fucking, you know, bring in new people and that kind of thing. But it does make people like me very happy, so I hope they do that. Yeah, I think they need to revamp the early level stuff. The early game needs to be more interesting and engaging, and more rewarding, and also cost less AP. And then the dailies need to just be completely revamped, and absolutely need to have their AP costs lowered. You can already watch the cutscenes though, so if they did story replay, I'm pretty confident they wouldn't fuck it up. Wow, I thought it might be in that one spot, but it wasn't. So I was being greedy there. I'm just kind of worried though that this massive profit loss is going to get them to cut more corners, right? Do even like, they're like, oh my god, we can't do any animation updates, and when we do, they have to be super phoned in. We got to focus on new things and blah 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 blah, right? So, you know, I think there could be some problems with this. All right, let's start taking out some of these stages here. The new challenge quest I'm kind of mixed on. I like the concept quite a bit. I don't know, like, so, funny enough, the video that I posted for it was actually my first setup for it. I beat it with some other setups after that, but every setup that I did after that that was more budgety, I just didn't like, and some of that might have been myself. Like, I was trying to make certain things work because I liked them, like I was trying to use Blood Axe instead of Spartacus and stuff. And every other, like, more budget-friendly setup that I did was always so RNG. Like, it worked, I got Darius and Blood Axe to work, but it was so RNG, and I did a few other setups that were just super RNG. I may be missing something, but I suspect, like, if the 1 to 2 star guy does it, I'm almost sure it's going to be super RNG. I just don't see a way to do it with 1 to 3 stars that doesn't rely on RNG. You can do it, but And the problem with when you have to rely on RNG on a budget setup, it's bad enough already, but then when the fight is that long, it's really frustrating. And that kind of what the vote I got and why I ended up just uploading the original clear that I did was because anytime I'd want to twink something, because the fight doesn't really even start until Jolter shows up. I'm serious. The fight basically, you need to min-max your value on the way there, but nothing, it's not that crazy until Jolter shows up, and that's so many turns into the fight that anytime you want to twink something, like, oh, maybe instead of Asclepius in the back, maybe I put David in the back, or maybe I try this CE instead of that CE, or maybe I NP sooner. Anytime you want to make an adjustment like that, you have to slog through, like, 18 turns of nonsense that you've already done over and over. So anytime the fights are longer like that and they're really hard from a stat line perspective, they get kind of frustrating to me, at least from a budget perspective, just because it's kind of like Iris Veal versus the tree. Nothing mattered until the third health bar, and the amount of time it took to get to the third health bar to make any adjustments is just so long that it's infuriating, right? And there's been a few fights like that where it's like almost nothing matters until the end, and then having to slog your way to the end is just not fun. So it's like, it got kind of annoying after a while, to be honest. In terms of like gameplay though, it was pretty interesting and I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny though that, normally when rulers show up, they have lower health than like what proportionally they would put at that tier of difficulty, if you will. But when I broke Joan of Arc's health bar, I was expecting it to be like 400k, 500k, but it was like 750k, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's the fight. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, they gave them a lot of health at the end there. Yeah, obviously ticket sales would have helped, but I mean, I don't think they were going to do the Tokyo Dome with the intention of, and we have no idea like how much money they got back from like the money they put down and stuff. Like different companies handle that in different ways, so they may not have lost that much off the Tokyo Dome. And even if they did, again, that just does not make up for an 81% drop. And if it did, which it doesn't, but if it did, that it was just the stupidest decision ever. Even if the coronavirus didn't happen, why on earth would you put that much of your money into a live stream at a fucking like, that's stupid. You should never, if it actually cost them that much, that was an ungodly, stupid business decision, right? Like that was, I truly don't think that's where the majority of their money went, but if it was, then that was so fucking stupid to begin with. No, Ziggy, that's bullshit. That's literally a lie. And I'm tired of saying this. I need to like make a Discord or a bot command for this. Overwhelmingly, the video game industry has been reporting that they've been making more money since coronavirus, and it's not even close. It's like record-breaking sales on everything, right? Steam is making more money than ever. Activision is making more money than ever. The industry at large is overwhelmingly making more money, and it's because people, if they're going to spend any money on leisure time right now, it's almost 100% going to be video games, because there's basically nothing else you can spend your money on, because everyone is working from home or laid off, or just not go. Even if they are still working, they go right home when they're done, right? No one is going out to like do outdoor activities for the most part, so at least most people. And so overwhelmingly, video games, because I mean, Steam is making so much money. Like, Steam has made so much money since the coronavirus. And hell, even I've probably spent more money on video games because of this, because I am stuck at home and stuff, and I can't like see my friends in real life and all those kinds of things. So and other mobile games have been making a fucking killing. Like, people just keep using the coronavirus as an excuse, but they're not actually looking at the data. There's nothing supports that the coronavirus is the reason for these problems. Because in terms of content being put out by the game and the development side of things, one, DW has said, they had a little trouble for like a month or two there, but then they're fine now and there's no problems. And other companies have not been struggling to put out content, right? It's not like FGO is not in a vacuum. You've got, Grand Blue Fantasy, Epic 7, that Dragon Ball Z game, Genshin Impact, Arc Knights, you know, there's so many, you know, fucking, was it Girls from Frontline or whatever, right? There's so many other games in the same boat, and none of them are like, you know, in a giant content drought, right? None of them. So, a lot of those other games have actually been doing very well financially, and a lot of them have been doing better, actually. So, you know, it really is FGO's loss. It's not the industry loss. It's actually the opposite. If anything, this was a chance for FGO to do better than ever. And, you know, dear God, have they not done that. Alright, I don't remember what this stage was. Let's see if we can do it without removing the gimmick tail. Like, again, I think it's kind of stupid to try to make excuses for them, because I saw this coming a mile away, completely independent of coronavirus and all these other things. When you just look at the attitude that DAW has had over the last year and a half, 2 years, it was obvious they were going to lose money. And I've been saying this for years. And when you looked at the app reports and stuff, it was obvious that they weren't making a lot less money than in previous years and stuff. Like, it was obvious. Because even when they were high on the rankings, they were so much, the gap between them and their competition was so much smaller. You know, they used to just, I mean, when FGO was number 1, it would crush what was in number 2. Now they're normally not number 1 at all, and even when they are like 3 or 4 or something, they're so tight with the other people that it's like, it's obvious that they've been, you know, doing worse. Like, you can't be as, like, you can't go from putting out a lot of main stories to almost putting out no main stories and having no welfares and having these copy-pasted events. You can't do that for this long and actually be like, oh wow, we lost profit. Like, of course they were going to lose profit. Alright, let's try the cat. I feel like this is going to go horribly. I literally have no idea what this stage is, but I'm worried. You know, that's a good point, Ari. That's a very good point. That although people might spend more money on video games, they're less likely to wail. Right? Sure, buy a $60 game, yeah. Spend $3,000 on my waifu. I don't know about that one, right? And this is a big part of what I've talked about and why you need to diversify your revenue streams. You know, I've said that. A lot, where FGO does not capitalize on casuals at all. You know, it's like they expect you to wail or die. And so many people are not going to wail. It's not going to happen. There's a huge amount of players like that. They'll spend 20, 30, 40, maybe $80 on something. They ain't spending, you know, question mark amount of money until they get the thing. So many people are like that. And again, yeah, no safety net. Safety net is good for everyone, right? It keeps whales from losing their mind. And, you know, whales are going to go for NP5, so you're still going to get, you know, a ludicrous amount of money out of them. Hitting the safety net 5 times is a lot of money. But free-to-plays will have saved up SQ to maybe do half the safety net, and then maybe they'll pay for the other half of the safety net, right? This is a tried and true business model, by the way. Every other game doesn't do it to be nice. Every other game does it because it works, and it gets money out of people that otherwise wouldn't spend money, right? But fucking FGO doesn't have one. Like, it's not, I always rant about the safety net, but I'm like, it's not about us. It's literally about them. It makes them money, and it makes us less pissed off, right? So it's like, it's so stupid they don't have one. It's because those dumb fucks actually think they'll lose money to it, which is so dumb. Because I'll tell you right now, obviously I have a lot of SQ saved up. Let's say I roll for, like, you know, dream timeline here. Let's say they add Green Knight and Sir K, and then they add, like a few months later Butch Cassidy, right? And so I use up all my SQ, right? And then maybe I save up a bit, but then they add something else that I really like, or maybe something I just kind of like. Like, yeah, I'd like to get their gameplay, and so I have enough free SQ to get maybe halfway to the safety net. Right? I legit, I'm not a cheapskate. I wouldn't mind paying for the other half of the safety net and supporting the game some. I wouldn't mind doing that. That's fine. You know, it's like, oh yeah, 40 bucks or something. Yes, I'll do that, sure. And if I really like the unit, maybe I pay a little bit more than that, right? But I am not doing this, you know, keep paying until hopefully you get it. Might end up being thousands of dollars. No, there's no world where I ever do that, period. That's not going to happen, right? And there's a lot of people like that. And skins, just sell skins, you stupid fucks. I literally can't believe they don't sell skins. Every other game does it, and I get it. If the game is buy to play, you don't want to be selling skins, right? It's a really bad look to spend $60 on a game and then you have to spend $20 on a bunch of skins, right? Obviously that never goes over well. But free to play games selling skins is not controversial. It's not a problem. Every other game does it, and then we actually get skins. I will buy skins and then we actually get skins. That's the whole problem. Is with the skins being free, we never get any. We get like 2 a year. Oh man, like it's shit. And I would say to keep the player base from losing their minds, you should probably still make a few free skins every year, right? You should still put out some free skins that everybody gets no matter what, just like they are now. And when you do this, when you start adding buyable skins, you should tell people we're still gonna put out, free skins like we always have, right? Say that so you don't have a PR nightmare on your hands. But, selling, if they put out Hawaiian shirt coup for 15 bucks, I would have bought that, right? Otherwise, I don't give them any money, right? So it's like, there's no reason not to do those things. Like, FGO is behind the times. When it comes to both, the way the game, by the way, we're fucked because this guy's just gonna insta-kill us. But FGO is behind the times, in both business model and gameplay systems and all that. It's just so behind the times. They've got to update. Like, they've got to update or they're screwed. So, I kind of want to try this with her. Okay, well, there we go. I like how when we do this with Billy, it failed like 4 times in a row, and it was great. And then we hit him 1 time with the cat, and he only got 1 attempt, and it instantly killed us. That's great. Let's try this with Arjuna. We might need the damage CE, though, just because, you gotta win really fast here, and he's got that damage resistance thing going on. Let's see if I Love Arjuna's logged in anytime recently. Please tell me I have Arjuna on this, added on this account. Oh, there we go. Okay, has damage CE, slightly cheesy, but we'll roll with it. So I guess we use Atlas. We need a lot of uptime on not getting insta-killed. It's pretty important here. But yeah, like, it does frustrate me because I have a feeling FGO, even with all this lost money, and they took a dip for 81%, right? That's pretty insane. I'm afraid that they're still not going to add a safety net. They're still not going to add paid skins. They're still not gonna, fix up their core gameplay. They're not gonna do interesting, innovative events. I'm just afraid they're gonna keep doing what they're doing, but they're gonna focus like harder on adding new waifus, and that's it. And I don't think that's good enough. I think they got to do more than that. I don't think, because let's be real, from a waifu perspective, right? It's like most games know how to hire artists to make good waifus, right? So it's like that alone is not going to get people playing, right? Like, because there's a million games out there with a million waifus. So it's like you have to do more than that. You have to have good gameplay. And that's actually a good thing that the industry's been moving in that direction, right? But yeah, they've got to try harder than that. Yeah, I know FGO really is a lot less waifu focused than a lot of other games. I think a lot of people don't realize that. But it's still obviously, they try to design likable and, characters, not even just the females, right? Like, and that just, of course you want your characters to be well designed and all these things, right? So that's not even, okay, do I need to, I guess I need to cast my debuff immunity right now, or I'm gonna have a bad time. Yeah, that's a big one, Ari. It's gonna take a while. Anything they do in the pipeline, it has to work its way down the pipeline, right? It takes a while. A lot of stuff, like, it's not like they made this event yesterday. This event was starting to be worked on a long time ago. And then you have pre-production and all kinds of things, right? So, and then just, if they change some higher ups in the company, that's gonna take a while for their decisions to, take effect. And there's just so many things. Yeah, any effects of this, you're not gonna see for a while. So I think FGO is still gonna be in the shitter for a little while, but hopefully they'll start turning this stuff around. So there are a few things they can implement, like, really quickly, if the, management can get itself sorted out. But like that's, like things like safety net, you could implement that very easily. And there are definitely some things that they could do almost immediately. But again, because sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, even those kinds of things don't happen. Alright, let's go ham here. Dude, the welfare situation, I don't know what the hell happened on that front, like, Jesus. I really hope they fix that up. I'll be right back, I need water. And then, we had that one welfare that broke her leg every time she moved. Alright, I'm back. But, yeah, I really like what Ari said there about, people might be spending more money on video games, but not whaling, right? In this game, literally FGO has no way to make money outside of whaling, so that's a pretty big problem. So, slightly shifting gears here, but chat, how do you all feel about the new challenge quest, for those that have done it? All 9 of you that have done it already. I'm curious how you guys feel about the new challenge quest. Because some people have said it's so fucking hard and blah 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 blah, or they think it's terrible or it's amazing, so I'm kind of curious what we get here. It takes so long. It is kind of long. Looks like most people haven't actually done it yet. It looks like overwhelmingly people haven't actually got to it yet. I really am mixed about it. I think it was fun, it's just too long, right? That was the thing, and that made it very frustrating to twink things. You know, I think I would have made it a bit more upfront with the value stuff, a little bit shorter, but then put the difficulty sooner, right? Boy, this is gonna be tough. This guy is not taking much damage here. That damage resistance is crazy. Oh hey, Sticky, thank you for the or Stinky, thank you for the resub, man. Yeah, so let me tell you all a story about why I didn't stream yesterday, and I also felt like I was a zombie yesterday. So I wake up, okay, and I had, as normal, I have some sleep apnea problems, so that was a bit rough, but not too bad. I'm all right. I gotta do some real life stuff. I'm doing laundry and whatnot. Blah 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 blah, and then I realized, oh god, they've added the challenge quest, and it's already kind of late into the day, and I haven't even touched FGO. So I'm like, fuck. And it's not like they've added the challenge quest and I can just sit down and do it. You have to do almost everything in the event before doing the challenge quest. So I had to, do some free quest farming, grab some resource, clear basically the entire map. And then you have to do a million mini boss fights with foreigners, which I just went super ham on and just killed them really fast. The last floor is just chock full of shit. It takes forever to do. And then you get the challenge quest, and then the challenge quest was crazy long and all this stuff. And then, like I said, I did that first setup, and then I wanted to try other setups, and I didn't like any of the other setups. So I wasn't done and ready to just edit the video. What time was it, Rex? I remember I said on Discord, it was super late. It was so much later than normal because I could not find a setup that I liked, and so I ended up just going with the original one. But it had to have been 12, or 1 a.m. or something crazy like that. Yeah, I know I didn't upload it until 5 a.m. It was 5:30, I think. But I was obviously that's because of other things. But I didn't finish and be like, okay, it's time to edit until at least 12 or 1 a.m. or something. And then I had to, you got to transfer it to your computer. You have to edit it, and it took longer to edit than normal because it was very long. It was 28 turns, and you know how I am. I cut out all the wait times and all the back and forth in the card menu and stuff. So that many turns takes a spell. And actually, I'm kind of disappointed. I was in such a rush that I didn't do any fun edits. There was no humor in the video. But then I had to pick out the music, and I wasn't going to be lazy with that, and so that took forever. Funny trivia: I actually edited the music in that video backwards. I just could not figure out what I wanted to do, but I know how I wanted the video to end, so I literally did the music backwards, and that's how it worked out. Anyway, so then I did that, and then I had to render the video, and again, because the video was much longer than normal, rendering the video took ages. Oh my god, it took forever to render that thing. And then uploading it takes a while, then you have to wait for it to publish, or process. Then when it's done processing, you have to wait for it to get high quality before you make it go live, otherwise you're going to be putting up a potato video. And so yeah, when it was all said and done, it was 5:10 a.m. and then I realized I'd been working on this video so long, all day, that I missed my Genshin Impact login, by the way. All my Genshin Impact dailies and all that kind of stuff, I missed all of them, and so I was like, fuck. But then I just went to bed, and yeah. It sucks, man. But yeah, yesterday was all I did was like real life stuff that I had to do. You know, I had some real life responsibilities, but I did the real life stuff, and then all I did was clearing the event. Just took a while, and then actually doing the challenge quest, and then finding a setup that I wanted to do. Which, by the way, I never really found something that I wanted to do, but you know, and then it was just all day. Literally, I couldn't believe it. I've never had that happen before with FGO. I was shocked. By the time I finally got it uploaded and I looked at what time it was, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. There was so many things I still wanted to do that day. I was like, I feel like I just woke up, did some FGO, and then I'm going to sleep. Like that was dumb. Like that was stupid. That was a stupid day. I hope that never happens again. I literally felt like I deleted yesterday because of that, right? Like I wanted to talk about these profit drops and I wanted to stream and everything, but you know, it didn't happen. By the way, double debuff immunity. I normally stay on top of Genshin because I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun playing it. Very easy to goof off and mess around in that game. But yeah, yesterday I just didn't have any time, so you know, I missed it. So yeah, this song is awesome. I never use this song in videos because I feel like you can't use the song for anything other than like Halo stuff. It's so Halo that I feel like blasphemy. The only way you'd ever see me use this like an FGO is either as satire, as like a joke, like you're trying to like mockingly make something dramatic and then you just got like crit by the enemy and die, you know, something like that. Or if they added a unit that was just very Halo, right? Like if they added a unit that was just super Halo vibes, then I would probably use this. I actually kind of like this event though. It's, you know, it's a bit grindy. It's not too grindy though if you're not in a rush. You know, just, you know, some fun content. I've been enjoying some of the side content quite a bit. It's not perfect though. It's not nearly as good as Good of Final, because Good of Final had more side content that was better and more flexible, and it had less farming. This is more farming, less side content, and then that side content is absolutely less flexible. So, yeah, it's not like my favorite ever, but it was all right. I haven't really found it that grindy. I've definitely found other events more grindy. I think it's kind of grindy if you want to, you know, ASAC clear the maps and stuff. And especially if you just focus, if you're meta about, and this is what I've been doing, is I've been trying to be meta about boosting the drops that clear the map, right? And that generally makes it a fair bit easier. So I will say I'm impressed Arjuna is lasting as long as he is. This is because, I mean, most units die on this on turn 1. I'm serious. Most people just die on turn 1. And even if they don't and they last a few turns and they get lucky with the insta-death, they just can't do any goddamn damage, right? Most people just get crushed here. I'm surprised Arjuna is doing this well. Now that being said, Arjuna is still going to lose. This is too much to handle, I feel, but not embarrassing himself at least. And technically he could win if he gets lucky with an insta-death proc, but I don't think that's going to happen. Summer 3 was. No one would argue that Summer 3 was grindy as hell. No one would argue that. But the thing is, and so like what Rex is saying, an event can still be grindy even if it's not as grindy as Summer 3, right? It's not like that's the only grindy event that has ever been. You know, we've had plenty of super grindy events here. Okay, we're probably gonna die this turn. So it's insta death or bust, pretty much. Case Files was good. I did enjoy Case Files. It didn't. The only problem with Case Files felt so smooth in terms of like grinding and like what you needed to do each day and like how the time lock was handled and like when you would unlock boss fights and everything. It felt great. The problem was almost none of the boss fights were actually good, right? I found almost every boss fight in Case Files to be a snores fest, with the exception of like just like 1 or 2, right? It had a couple that were good. It had, and the main fight at the end was good. The final fight with the Da Vinci robot AI gone wrong, right? That was a good fight, and the challenge quest was a good fight. Like, those were great, and I love that challenge quest because it was hard, but, like, reasonable, right? And it had flexibility. There were multiple ways to do it. It was doable with budget, non-budget. You could do it fast, slow, medium, right? So that was nice. So yeah, a lot of good things in Case Files. The only thing it was lacking is it just didn't have like great side content, right? Like if it had more bosses to fight for funsies that were actually hard, I would have loved it. Because the event format and pacing were excellent, and I actually think that should be like their standard for pacing, right? That was such good pacing. That and Good of Final, I think, just knocked it out of the park. I love Good of Final, especially when I did the rerun and I really paid attention, and I kind of took my time to have more fun with the side bosses. I just loved Good of Final. I thought, you know, and this is coming from somebody that doesn't like the weeb aesthetic, and I was just like, this event is amazing, right? The pacing was spot on, wasn't too grindy, you know, it was, and like, what I don't like about this event is, not all, but a lot of the bosses are like, remove my gimmick or die, right? Like, a lot of the bosses are like that, where if you don't remove their gimmick, it's not happening, and if you remove the gimmick, it's a non-issue, and the fight just becomes a joke, and you could beat it with a twig, right? Where Good of Final wasn't like that at all. I don't think you ever had to remove the enemy gimmick, ever. It would obviously be more tricky and might be, you know, harder, but I don't think, and I can't remember any of those where you actually had to remove the boss gimmick by bringing the story support. Now, absolutely, the story support would make it much easier, but it was completely optional, right? And I really prefer that, because then you can, like, not remove the gimmick and have a nice challenging experience and, you know, mess around and that kind of thing. And if maybe you can't deal with the gimmick, or you don't want to deal with the gimmick, or you're a new player or whatever, then you can just bring the story support, right? That was great. And this event is kind of trying to do that, but they're dropping the ball so hard. Like, this event is clearly trying to be like Good of Final. It has a lot of side bosses, like Good of Final did for funsies, and they're all very gimmicky, and you can optionally remove the gimmick, right? It's just the gimmicks are so stonewalling you that, you know, outside of very specific things, there's, you know, it's not very feasible to do them without removing the gimmick. With a few exceptions. A few of the fights are good, like the homunculus one. We're actually living long enough through health that I should not have recast my first skill when I did. I could have waited one turn and had more time to be immune to debuffs, so I kind of messed up there. Hey, Anabashi, thank you for the 28-month resub. Jesus Christ, that's a long time. Yeah, the homunculus fight's great. It's awesome. Big fan. Didn't crit here. Alright, well, this is pretty much our last turn, so it's now or never, Arjuna. You care to blow up the Spriggan with an insta-death, which would be, you know, karma, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So I wonder if the enemy's effect is sacrifice or if it's insta-death. Because if it's sacrifice, then like Gramps wouldn't be able to be immune to it. We should test that real quick just to see. And if anyone is going to insta-death the Spriggan, it would be Gramps. Gramps would just die to the normal card damage really easily. Wow, we actually survived the NT. Well, he did good. I mean, my God, I'm telling you, most archers here are just, they're not gonna go anywhere. But Arjuna has so much healing and so much anti-debuff. You could do it on a team with Arjuna, definitely, if you had some support there. You could. It'd take a while. Doing this on a team, I guess, is a lot more reasonable. You just have to wear the guy down. I guess you would have to make a team that has a lot of either anti-debuff, debuff clear, or into death immunity. I might even try that just for the fun of it, but I should have done that on my main. I could have made a team, right? Because I got Nightingale and Joan of Arc for debuff clear, and I got Scatty, all that stuff. I could have done that. I don't think you can only insta-death divine enemies, it's just his chance is so much higher. Let's see if anyone's got Gramps slotted. I can slot my own if I need to, though. Mine is not very good, but it's at least something. I mean, mostly you just want to test the gimmick and see if it's insta-death or sacrifice. I feel like if it is sacrifice, you're going to have to go with an anti-debuff setup then. You know, something with debuff clear. Or debuff immunity, that would work too. So one reason why... Wow, I am 1 CE away from my main account being able to limit break the event CE again. I just need one more drop. That's crazy. I've like never done that in an event ever. I just been getting CE drops like crazy this event. I wish that would happen on some of the other events where I just could not get a CE drop to save my life, but you know. I literally just relogged. Game, why you know? Give me my other account. There we go. Worst overcharge in the game is Valkyries. There's really no way around that, though. It's like, insta-death is so niche and so bad anyway, and hers doesn't even work very often, and when it does, it only works on demons. And it's like, what the hell is that overcharge? Okay, let's see what happens here. Well, we didn't even get the debuff, but that doesn't make sense. We should be able to get that debuff even if we are immune. I couldn't see. Maybe we just guarded it. I couldn't see the his character because he was off screen. Just swap those buster cards around. Okay, no, we can be affected by it. We just guarded this as well. Alright, now the question is, can it kill us? So if it's instant-death, it won't, and if it's sacrifice, it will. It is instant-death, so he is immune. That's nice. The problem is he is not counterclassing, and mine is 666 NP1, so he would like never kill the boss ever. But you know, what are you gonna do? Probably should have cast that last turn, although it's kind of hard to say. Basically, we need to just pray to RNGesus that we get an instant death proc. That's like the only way he's doing this. I really wish I had thought to do this on my main with just a team. I'm serious. If you don't remove the gimmick here, I think this would be almost a full-on challenge quest if you did it with a team. Because it would still be tough. Now, there's a few supports and stuff that would make it probably a lot easier than your typical challenge quest, but you'd have to work pretty hard to have a good enough uptime on stopping the debuffs and that kind of thing. Although I guess you could just use Gramps and then like a stall team pretty feasibly, and that might be kind of dull. But you could have a pretty good experience with this. I'm not sure my ult account could do anything all that great here though, because I don't have much that's kind of anti. I guess, does this count as Joan of Arc? I think it does. I'm not sure what kind of uptime I could actually have on her NP though if I didn't have other supports. Because it's going to take a while to kill this guy, even with like a limit broken CE and an archer just going ham. It would still take a while to kill this guy. Like, in practical terms, his health is kind of nuts. Alright, let's see if we get a lucky insta-death here. So normally you do a buster chain, but we're never going to win with normal attacks. Never. It's insta-death or bust, so NP gain is the only thing that matters. We're like 5.5 years in on JP, and then NA is like 3.5. Because the 5th year anniversary was a while ago now already. On time doth fly, everybody. Well, no insta-death yet. Not looking so good. Probably got the insta-death of like that dragon. I remember we insta-killed that thing, but we redid it with Gramps so many times, and he never insta-killed it again. No one's insta-killed it again, right? We fought him with plenty of units that have had insta-death. Imagine if I had that at max rank, and then like I had the command code to boost your healing, right? And you come back with more health from guts. Like he can instantly go back to such high health if he's set up properly. Every time we normal attack, though, we have a chance of insta-deathing. It's just pretty low. That's actually how we killed the dragon, though, funnily enough. Definitely should have cast Guts on turn 1, though. Between that and being 10-10-10 and command codes, we could have lived a good bit longer. It's because like we don't have, the player characters don't have, they have the normal deep you know, insta-death resistance, right? There's no like extra stuff. It doesn't work that way for the enemies, so. Insta-death was not balanced very well, and I get it. If the enemies worked like we did, Insta-death would be way too good. I mean, it would just be way too good. Now, Insta-death, funnily enough, only breaks a health bar. It won't kill somebody if you have multiple health bars. It'll just kill one health bar. If it's their last health bar, it'll kill them. So that would, put it more in line, but it'd still be too good because you could use Curse Arm to theoretically do like 1,000,000 damage, right? So it's like without buff stacking them and stuff like that. That's too good. I do think they should have. What I would have done is against boss enemies and stuff, because for real, when you fight those big bad challenge quests, you can insta-death like the Gilius challenge quest. You can. It's just the odds are so low that you'd have to do it over and over and over and over and over. I mean, it's just so unreasonable, right? But what I would have done is I would have made it where bosses, you can I'd give them the same rate of insta-death as everything else, just like you, right? Like the proc is the proc, the resistance is the resistance, and that's that. But I would make it when insta-death goes off against a boss, instead of it killing them, have it do a set amount of damage, right? And that way it can be like a funky way around resistance buffs and things like that. I just randomly dropped so many frames. I'm looking at OBS and just real quick there, I just had a massive spike, and it's completely back to normal now. But I just had a massive like latency spike. That's really weird. Because normally if like you're having internet problems, you will have consistent frame drops. But I just had like a burp, and then it's back to normal. I'm so confused what that was. And yeah, apparently everyone else saw that, so I don't know what the hell that was, but we're fine now, I guess. Weird. Anyway, but yeah, I'd have it like, Curse Arm, if you proc insta-death, it does 40,000 flat damage to the enemy. And yeah, you could break some gimmicks with that, but fair enough, insta-death should break some gimmicks, right? So adding flat damage is pretty reasonable, and that way, when you do get a proc, it feels good, but you're not going to proc all the time, but then your proc rate would obviously be more reasonable than it is now. I think that's a really good way of dealing with it. Funnily enough, though, that would make Ku stronger, and that would be kind of stupid. Like, imagine if Ku, because what's Ku's death rate? I think it's like 40 or 50%. Look. They actually buffed it. It used to be really low, but then they buffed it when he buffed his NP. His death rate is 60%. So basically, regardless of the enemy's resistance, 60% of the time you'd get that flat damage, but then based on what the enemy's resistance is, it'd be less than that, right? Like, Ku's death rate is like 32%, right? So you'd get it a lot less than 60% of the time. But still, let's say, Ku lives long enough, you normally NPs 3, 4, 5 times, right? You're probably going to get at least one insta-death proc, so that's a nice, shot in the arm for your damage. I don't think taking a percent of their HP is a good idea, because that would just be too good against some bosses. And flat damage would be really good sometimes too, but I really just think of doing a set amount of damage as a bonus of what it would do anyway is a really good way of handling it. Yeah, they probably could have done a better job with that set. I can see like that net gap is kind of silly. You could probably though make, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the character creation in Demon's Souls is pretty good. You could probably make your skin color of the character, if you made a character designed to use that armor, you could make their skin color match the armor, and you could probably make it look decent that way. But yeah, that's a bit silly. I'm so glad they added that though. That's great. Yeah, Ku already does really good damage now, so adding that would be a lot, but, they gotta do something for insta-death. It's so lame the way it is. Thanos playthrough. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I'll keep my eye on a PS5. It kind of depends on what other games come out. I will say the fact that it can play PS4 games does make it more appealing to me. Because there was never enough PS4 games that I wanted to buy a PS4, but there was a few. Right, there was a few, so I might get one. We'll see. I won't get one though until you can actually buy one legit instead of having to go to a scalper. But yeah, we'll see. Oh wow, I'm already out of the one thing. Probably do a few of those real quick in case I need to remove someone's gimmick. Yeah, I know. Right now, a lot of times when you proc insta-death, it's a bad thing. Because the one time you can proc it is on farming and things like that. And when it procs there, you just lose out on star gen and NP refund. So it kind of sucks like that. Oh, here, let's do the main story real quick. See, I didn't even want to pre-order one because there just wasn't enough games that I cared about, right? Because I love Souls games, but I'm just so underwhelmed by the Demon Souls remake because it's like sure, I like Demon Souls and I haven't played it in many years, so I'm sure I'll have a good time playing it again, but I don't think it'd be that different from just playing the original again, right? So, and again, from a pure gameplay perspective, it's kind of always been my least favorite Souls game. Although I do like, the atmosphere, the music, and the characters I actually like a lot. And the fact that they didn't give it any kind of a facelift on the gameplay front. And they didn't even fix the world tendency system, right? There's no way From Software was happy with that system. It's such a cool idea. But it's implemented like ass, right? And it's if they had beefed it up and made it more interesting and made how you do it better and had more engaging things happen in your world and stuff, it's so backwards. If you're good at the game gets easier. And if you're bad at the game gets harder. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's stupid. Yeah, you're basically buying a graphic update, right? And I don't even like the graphics update that much because I think a lot of the aesthetic went out the window. And I think, am I the only? I see everyone constantly praising the NPCs in the Demon Souls remake, but I'm this is the Uncanny Valley. Am I seriously the only one that feels this way? I do not like the NPCs in the Demon Souls remake. I'm it's just Uncanny Valley 1000%. It's just with Devil May Cry 5. Devil May Cry 5 is so creepy because it's trying so hard to be amazing graphics that it's just so Uncanny Valley. All these games that try so hard to have the realistic facial expressions are just creepy as fuck. Yeah, I've seen patches. He's extra creepy, but that almost works. But everything else, I'm just I really don't like the facial expressions in the Demon Souls remake. I'm what the fuck, dude? The technology is just not there right now, right? It's close enough that things look, fairly human, but then it's still so not that you get that Uncanny Valley, shenanigans again. So yeah, I find it pretty bad. But yeah, I've never played Bloodborne though, so it'd be nice I can play that on PS5, so that'd be nice. And I'm sure some other games on the PS5 get some play. And because I'm a streamer, I'll probably get it at some point. Yeah, Arthur, you're really good here. Honestly, in terms of aesthetic and everything and graphics and stuff, I think DMC4 looks the best of the DMC games. They kind of just made it anime, very anime graphics, and that's fine. DMC5 has really good graphic fidelity, but the aesthetic and then the over-realistic look on everything, it just doesn't work for me. Kind of just blow through these stages because they're not that great. I didn't like the reboot of DMC's art style very much. I'll say I actually probably think it looks a bit better though than DMC5. I mean, DMC5 is just full on Uncanny Valley, just 1000% Uncanny Valley, and it makes it silly to me. But I don't know. I didn't really care for the aesthetic too much in the reboot. But DMC5 kind of fails me on the graphics front on a lot of levels. It's not just all the people looking like the Uncanny Valley. The environments suck. I mean, these suck balls. I don't know how anybody can praise that game graphically, because yeah, graphic fidelity wise, DMC5 is very impressive, but that doesn't mean anything. Wow, look at all this texture on this bland ass environment. Guys, it's another gray and red environment. Wow, but don't worry, the texture quality and that lump of flesh looks amazing, right? The whole game in DMC5 It's just gray and like the red tones for like the underworld. It's just that over and over. It's awful. Like, my God, that game is one of the dullest looking games I've ever seen. And like, I don't even have high standards when it comes to like environments. I'm not one of those people that needs every zone to be some like, you know, unique snowflake of colors, right? Not at all, right? I'm totally fine with, you know, some pretty grounded, you know, looks and stuff. But like, shit, it's like, everything is just so bland in DMC5, right? And then on top of that, you have the Uncanny Valley. It's one of the worst looking games in my opinion. I hate to say that. I love DMC. The combat in DMC5 is very smooth and great and everything. But I cannot think of another game where I'm that put off by the way it looks. It looks like garbage. That good old Arknight's music, man. These stages are weird. Hey, Marps. The gameplay is really good in DMC5, but I mean, I fucking notice it because everything is so poorly lit that it makes it hard to see your goddamn character, so it's like, pretty noticeable. Rex, what do you want to bet? There's a bunch of people on NA that are going to try to copy Irisville versus the tree, but they're not going to have Irisvilles that are upgraded, and they're also not going to realize how bullshit that's what you have to do to make that work is, and they're all going to like not understand how to do it, and like I already know that's going to happen. So many people have no idea how that meme got started, and so they just really don't get it. One day, though. Actually, we're getting kind of close. I think we need, like, what, one more Grail? And then I have to actually get my newbie account there, which that shouldn't be too bad. Oh god, I've barely been playing the newbie account. I just realized. All I gotta do is get Herc to Bond 10, really. Yeah, I haven't checked out a lot of the newer Arknight's music. I need to do that. Oh, it's this stage. Boy, do we not really have the right setup for this. We might win anyway. We'll see. I don't think this will break. It's funny, I haven't played Arknights in ages, but I'm looking forward to when I do play it again. I'm sure they'll have a lot of new content and everything. And seriously, the main story in that game is so much fun, especially when you're not like over leveled and stuff, man. You gotta really work to beat those stages, and it's very enjoyable. I'd say even chapter 2 and on is really good. Again, especially if you're not like over leveling and you don't not like strong arming it. I would say even like from chapter 2 it gets pretty good. Pretty much everything from that point on is really well like handcrafted stages. Like they really do a good. I'm so impressed with the level design in Arknights. It's phenomenal. Why did I not cast this? Boy, the command code to remove a defense up buff would be really big here. I think we soloed this with Canis on the main. We should give somebody a shot at it over here. Canis did not have the defense removal command code. And she still won, but I'll probably give that to somebody on this account to make it a bit more reasonable. Okay. Oh yeah, we used Shin-Gong, yeah, to clear out. Cause why did we bring Shin? Oh yeah, I just brought him by mistake. It's like we wanted Shin-Gong, I think, to yeet somebody, but we accidentally had the 65. But that wasn't. It was overall a good thing because it kind of worked out well, but it wasn't that good because of I think he took a little longer to die and stuff. Who do we want to give a shot to? Let's see. Could try Achilles because he is AoE. That'd be pretty tough. But if we give him like proper command codes, he might have a shot at it. Yeah, we'll give him a go. Let's see. I guess most of I got some on Brunhilde, but I don't think we need these too much. Need that one. This is the wrong menu. Oh my god. What's CC? Is that an Art Knights game mode thing? I'm gonna keep some stuff on Brunhilde because I actually have her slotted for the challenge quest if anybody wants to do a setup kind of like mine. So I should keep good stuff on her. Actually, I might just keep all the stuff on her because I don't think Achilles really needs any of it. Like the Star Bomb is not. Well, okay, she doesn't even need that much because I don't think he would use the other ones, and she didn't even need that one. So, what's a good stand-in? Probably something utility based. That's actually fine because MP gain's really important in that fight, so it doesn't help that much, but it's something. Yeah, this event takes place before Lost Vault 5. It's a completely self-contained story, though. Everything that oh yeah, those things that let you make the stage harder. Yeah, that sounds cool. It's only an event though, and that kind of sucks. That's one thing I've seen with Art Knights though, is you can cheese the game a lot easier with 6 stars, like especially some of the really strong 6 stars. But you know, you can cheese FGO with like double Merlin and crap like that. So you know, it is what it is. But you can also just not do that if you want it to be really, you know, hard, so. And also if you don't try to like max out a bunch of 6 stars, you don't have to grind very much, so. Yeah, Rex, yeah, I remember that. And then, yeah, no, it was actually foreigner bullshit that has nothing to do with anything. Like, literally, this event has nothing to do with anything. It's a completely self-contained story that does not do shit. Like, it's so irrelevant. Which card is this? Okay, we want Star Bomb on this, I guess. His art cards are kind of the least important for him. A lot of times you end up not really using them. Sometimes you do Buster Art when you really want to NP. But, I think one of the command codes removes an attack buff. Which one is it? This is crit, I think. There is something in here that removes attack buff, but I don't remember which one it is. That would help, but I don't think we really need it that much. I just don't know what else the hell I would even slot, because nothing else is all that useful. Sakura command code? I don't even remember there being a Sakura command code. Am I out of my mind? Although there's also a good chance that this account just doesn't have it. I've gotten every command code they've ever added on my main, but my ults definitely has not. The flower one? Oh, is it this one? I thought this one was something else. Is this it? I know something removes an attack buff. I just don't remember which one it is. I didn't remember it being this one. Is it this one? Really? Huh. Man, I never would have remembered that. I thought this was like another like really niche one or something. I guess we slap this on an art card because I don't know what else I would put on an art card here. Like, I mean, healing would be fine, I guess. But I already have healing on Brunhilde and I don't want to switch it, so... Yeah, healing would definitely be the pick. And stand-in will just... It's like... That's the basic, I don't know what else to go with, so... I love this song, man. I need to use it in a video. I don't think I ever have. I need a very specific kind of like background and vibe for the moment. Oh, that's why we use Chin Gong, right? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. This account... You know what? I'm using a command spell. Cause yeah, this account can't do the Chin Gong thing because I've only got a regular K-scope, not a limit broken one. Yep, just gonna use a command spell because I don't need command spells on this account for anything anyway. Actually, I actually need them on the main right now to do the whale thing because I kept the whale stage, but I'm not sure I can do it, man. Like I said, last time I did it, I was 3,000 damage short, but I don't think I can think of anything to do because first I was 20,000 damage short, and then I min-maxed the hell out of it, and I got to 3,000. And I'm like, I don't know what else I could fucking do other than limit breaking the CE, but I don't have the copies to do that, so I have no idea what I could do. And the playlist is really liking Arknight's music right now. I leveled most of the 3 stars in Arknights, but there's a few that I just don't like. And that's actually the thing that has made it so hard for me. Is because there's a lot of... I've gotten stuck on stages where I know you can do it with 3 stars, it's obvious, but like you need like lava or something, right? And like anytime you need AoE, it is such a problem for me because I don't like any of the low star AoE, except for F12, but he's not good enough for a lot of things. Right, he's the right call for a few things, but so often when you need AoE with low stars, F12 don't work. And all the other options I just don't like, so... Yeah, I won't do it right now. I don't like playing a lot of music that I don't know what it is in advance because that's how bad things happen on stream. But I'll check out the new music later, and I'll probably add it to the playlist and stuff. Good old Chin Gong, by the way. This opening hand fucking sucks, though. Yeah, I'm not gonna use any like super OP 6 stars. That's not gonna happen. Because I don't even like most of the 6 stars in that game. I like a few. And sadly, I like Silver Ash. He's awesome, but he's OP as fuck, so... Well, people say if you don't want him to be OP, you like don't elite him, and he's fine, but no one's gonna see it that way, and it's just a lot of work, and I don't even have him, so... Yeah, everybody says he's busted. Yeah, I will say using 4 stars is pretty legit on free-to-play because 4 stars are literally the 3 stars of that game. That's they give out so many 4 stars for free, and the rates at which you get 4 stars from the recruit system, whatever the fuck it's called, and then just like regular rolling, they're easy. Like 4 stars are easy to get. They're very much that game's 3 star. That's just how it is. But now I haven't played Arknights in a long time, and so there's new units and everything else, but off memory, I don't remember there even being any 4 stars that I particularly liked for like filling the role of like some of the hard AoE that you would need and stuff. There was like Catapult, I guess, but even she a lot of times wouldn't do what like Lava could do and stuff. So that was like a real gap in my lineup. I did not have good AoE that I actually liked the character. But I haven't played the game in so long, maybe there's other 4 stars or something that could fill that role. Oh boy, this is gonna be tough. I don't think Achilles is going to be able to do this. That, I mean, we might be able to do it if we could break, like, right there, but not break. That's so cheat. Like, we didn't break there, and we didn't get our NP there. That is death. We're whipping our buffs pretty hard now. The reason why it takes a lot of people a long time to get 3 stars, though, is because they don't actually prioritize getting 3 stars at all. Like, I have played this game enough times, I know how this works, right? There's a reason I actually use my SQ for, like, oh my god. I mean, I guess it's fucking scam likely. Yes, I'm being called by Scam Likely right now. Thank you. That's great. Anyway, oh, what was I saying? Oh yeah, it's like most people, you know, they don't use their SQ for anything other than, like, you know, 5 stars or they're saving up or whatever. But like, it's really useful to roll story to get 3 stars at the start of a new account. There's a reason that I always do that. He was Cairo when no one else was. Remember when Cairo streamed? Oh, that was a good time, man. This turn sucks, but what are you gonna do? He said he's going to be streaming against him, so. Why would a scam caller? I don't even. Normally, I feel bad when I put out someone's phone number like that, right? The weird thing is, I have Do Not Disturb on, so it shouldn't be doing that. But it's a scammer, so I don't give a fuck if that phone number gets leaked. Like normally, I would like delete VODs and stuff if it showed off someone's phone number or whatever. But I'm not doing that for scammers like that. Let me make sure I have Do Not Disturb on though. Maybe I turned it off by accident. It's weird that it is showing me notifications. Imagine having a PC version of FGO like Genshin Impact does. By the way, there's no reason they couldn't do that, by the way. Like, they absolutely could. Yeah, Do Not Disturb is on. I have no idea. Oh, it's because I'm in secure folder. That's why. So secure folder has its own settings, and it's not on Do Not Disturb in secure folder. That's why. And not only do they do everything possible to stop emulators, but they don't even have a legit PC version like Genshin Impact does, right? And what's funny is because Genshin Impact has a legit PC version, no one even tries to emulate it, right? Like, no one cares, right? So it's like, it's so much better to like, that's how you beat pirates and black markets and gray markets and stuff, is do it yourself. Like, it's a service problem, like, overwhelmingly, right? So if you make a legit PC version of FGO, no problem then, right? And I'm telling you, they would make some money that way, like, for sure. Okay, we're gonna need to use somebody that's actually good at soloing in a single target situation, because I guess it's impressive that Canis did this like she did, though, because yeah, it's kind of nasty. Now, I know Ku can do it. Like, I don't even have to think about it. Of course Ku can do it, but I wonder if Proto Ku could do it. I kind of feel like no, but I'm not sure. The enemy is not a beast. Da Vinci, will you shut the hell up? Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great if we had a PC version of FGO. And then, like, you know, we got a new game plus mode, story replay, revamped, you know, early story. Can you imagine, chat? They add story replay, and then they revamp the really early stuff, so it's like, you know, both more engaging and interesting, and then it's better for new players because it's not like a shitty snores fest, and actually teaches them how to play, teaches them to use St. George and things like that, right? And then you also get a new game plus version, so the vets get to go back and do a funner version of like Oceanus or whatever, and then that's a way to kind of see the new mechanics that they added and everything, right? Like, imagine that. Perk would obviously be fine, but that's generally a given. You know, if they added a new game plus, I would do Septim again. That's about the only way you'll get me to do it again, though. Like, if they ever add story replay, but there's no new game plus or whatever, I'm not doing anything in Septim. Never. I'm not doing it. The only way, well, I take that back. The one other thing that would get me to do it is if I make, like, another NP video, which I plan on doing eventually. You know, like Epic NPs 3. I would use the bosses there, potentially, for, like, just the footage, right? Like, I need to use this NP versus that NP to get the footage I need, right? And there might be bosses that you fight in Septim that just happen to be something I want to use in the video, right? So, oh my god, I could do summary videos so much easier if they added story replay. That's a huge part of why I don't really do them anymore, is because I can't, the summary videos would be boring without, like, the gameplay segments, right? You need that back and forth, right, to kind of make it work. But because the gameplay segments aren't available, and, like, the first time I play through a story, I don't want to fucking, you know, record it like that, right? And then hold on to the footage forever, and, like, that's not gonna fly, right? So if they actually did that story replay, it'd be a lot easier for me to do videos like that. The problem is a lot of issues with FGO people aren't going to agree upon, right? Now, there are some issues in FGO, though, I do think everyone would agree upon. The problem is there's always... Dude, this is a huge amount of people, especially on Reddit. I don't think it's a huge amount of people in, like, the player base as a whole. But there is a large amount of people that just can't take any criticism of FGO, right? Because they take it as a personal attack. They like FGO, and they want FGO to be the best. And anytime someone criticizes FGO, they take it as a personal attack, which is fucking stupid. But a lot of people are like that. And I remember when people were pointing out how bad the command code UI was, there were people acting that way, right? Like, it's always a thing, always a thing. Literally, anytime you criticize anything in this game, some idiot out there is going to take it as a personal attack. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, some things people aren't going to agree upon or not. But here's the thing, most people have no business sense. They have zero, none. They have no idea. Not only that, but most people don't even know what they want out of a video game. If you ask players what they want, you know, they're always going to want everything to be the path of least resistance, and then they'll get bored and stop playing the game. This is like a very known thing by video game developers these days, that most players are idiots, and they literally don't understand the need for friction, right? They don't understand the need for friction, right? So most players are a horrible source of feedback, right? Now, some people know, you know, what the fuck they're talking about, and they understand psychology and game design and so on and so forth. And there's plenty of people out there that do know that stuff, but you've got to be able to distinguish between ass criticism and then people that actually have you know what the fuck is going on. And so you don't want, like, Reddit with, you know, the horrible upvote system to dictate what the game actually wants. There's no way that's actually going to result in good feedback. And that's such a known thing in, like, video game development. Okay, let's give Protoku a shot. I feel like we might need to give him the heal, though, but we'll see what happens. God, why can't Protoku be better? It's not like he's a little bit behind Ku. He is light years behind Ku, and he was already pretty noticeably behind Ku before Ku got buffed, right? And then they buffed Ku twice, so now it's like slow down, I can't catch up, like, it's fucked. Because I've seen, there's this group of people that think that Protoku and Ku are equal before Ku got buffed. That is just, that is a fucking lie. I used them both back in the day a lot, and my god, Protoku was behind. But yeah, unfortunately, Ku is the only Lancer, and you see, you might think that would include Protoku, but it doesn't. It obviously doesn't. I'm so looking forward to whenever Beastly makes another one of those, by the way. Those are amazing. I'm really thinking about commissioning somebody to do art. Like, pretty basic art. Like, just, like, you know, you draw, like, a bullshit building to represent, like, DW headquarters. And then you have, like, you know, just, like, still images of, like, you know, whatever the fuck, you know, animals in suits or whatever you want to use for, you know, like, the skin one, right? And you just have really, really basic stuff. So just illustrate, and then you put the you know, subtitles to the dialogue and stuff that Beastly made. I think you could make some pretty funny like skits that way, because some of those are really good. Especially the skin one. That one was so good, dude. I hate this UI. Oh my fucking god. The music knows. I died when he said we could start putting those in Fate Grand Order Arcade. I just fucking died there, dude. Because that's the situation, really. You know, they get way more skins than regular FGO does. I don't know what cards to put things on right now. Definitely Star Bomb. Maybe we don't get rid of the attack up and we just get rid of the defense up. We definitely do that though. Like, holy crap. The thing is, we have all these memes and stuff, you know, about them putting effort into arcade and not the regular game. And that's true, but it's different developers, right? So it's not like DW's being a twat. It's just the developers of arcade are putting in more effort. Right? I mean, and good for them, right? Like, it's fine, right? So it's not like it's taking away from the regular game, you know, it's a different developer. But it is funny when you have arcade that's so much newer and did not... I wouldn't surprise me if it's actually more... This year, I suspect arcade is more profitable than FGO. I'm serious. Because, you know, as we found out recently, FGO only was, you know, 12 million in the green, right? That's pretty easy to beat. Like, that's pretty easy to beat. I really do suspect arcade was more than 12 million in profit. I really think so. I don't know yet, but like if that news comes out, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So yeah, arcade is probably legit a bigger moneymaker this year. Now they obviously weren't before that, because you know FGO before that was $1 billion in the green. Yeah, I know. That's a good point, Dusty, because arcade can make more of an excuse of the pandemic hurting them. That definitely affects them a lot more than mobile. You know, most video games, like I've said earlier, have actually made more money this year because you know, people are at home and need something to do, so... Maybe someday they're going to change arcade, so, you know, it's like more, you know, not spend money and not made to be in the arcade. But that wouldn't happen until it died, right? Until the arcade scene died down, and it doesn't seem to be dying down, so... Well, I hate to put this on his art card because there's so many better uses, but I don't know where else I would put it, so... Yep, it's not no lie, they had an 81% drop in their profits, which is something. By the way, Kane is putting us to shame right now, but don't make me use coup game. It's so stupid that this account's regular coup is better than this account's proto coup. Hey Arjuna, we used your Arjuna for that Spriggan and he almost beat it, but twice. Died to normal card damage. Yeah, FGO had an 81% drop in their profits this year. They went from over $1 billion in profit to 12 million. So yeah. I know, but Rex, 6.5 billion yen translates to like $1 billion, and then to about 12 million. That's what I said. So, like, because last year they were over $1 billion in dollars in profit, and now they're at about 12 million in profit. Like, I got it right. Because what people are messing up is that that they're thinking I'm saying last year is the billion that they made this year, but that's not what I'm saying. Now, I will say, one thing that we don't get numbers on, but this doesn't affect DW, this affects Aniplex and Sony and Type Moon especially. I'm telling you, Type Moon is happy as fuck, right? Because Type Moon, one, they got paid anyway, and two, merchandise sales, right? FGO and the anime and arcade and the books, all these things all lead towards merchandise sales, which Type Moon makes most of the money from. And yeah, they're looking pretty good in that department. So I don't think Type Moon cares at all. They're still swimming in money, but I don't think Sony and Aniplex are gonna be too happy about the situation. No, I'm so sick of saying this. COVID is not one of the factors. COVID helped the video game industry. Like, just go Google it right now. The video game industry has been making way more money since COVID started. They've gotten a massive shot in the arm, and as I've said a million times, it's because everyone is staying at home and has more free time and is working from home, and even if they're out working like a normal job, they'll come right home. Like, the video game industry is booming more than ever, and this is a fact. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. There's been more money going into the video game industry than any other, like, ever. This is like an absolute high for the video game industry, and other mobile games are fucking killing it. Like, other mobile games are making money, you know, like crazy, and so are a lot of other stuff. It's pretty specific how badly FGO is doing. I'm honestly tired of everyone saying that, because everyone's just saying it and repeating it because people keep saying it. It's like the excuse everyone goes to without actually thinking, right? It's like, never mind all the other developers are putting out content at, you know, at a reasonable pace, and all the other developers are making a lot of money. You know, anytime any developer anywhere has a development hiccup or puts out a bad game or whatever, no one's like, oh, COVID, it's fine, right? It's stupid, right? You know, meanwhile, the other games are still putting out content and they're doing better than normal. So the few games out there that are fucking up, right? It's not COVID. It's actually the opposite. Like, COVID has given companies more opportunity to make money than ever. So, like, it's the fact that FGO has been doing worse this year. Fuck you, game. I shouldn't have even used that command spell. I should have just reset. Like, that's such a bad hand. I mean, a lot of times they do show revenue numbers at financial reports and stuff when you're a public company, but revenue doesn't matter. Like, you know, it matters to a degree, because it can, if you have insanely high revenue but your profits are bad, that normally means there's a structural problem with the way your company is set up, right? Something is wrong, right? Like you're paying too much for something, or you've got bloated, you know, issues, or, you know, things like that. You're not using your money properly and whatnot, which I actually think there's plenty of signs of anyway. But I mean, I am so unsurprised by this. Like, I've seen a lot of people that are surprised Pikachu that they made less money. I'm a little bit surprised Pikachu at how big the drop was, right? Like, I'm like 81% is shocking, right? I was expecting 15, 20, maybe 30. You know, I was not expecting 81%. Like, that's nuts. It's like, I don't. If you know anything about the video game industry, I don't know how you could watch FGO over the last, like, year and a half or so and not be like, oh yeah, they're about to lose a lot of money. How could you, like what the fuck? Like, how like blind do you have to be? Like, of course they're not gonna make as much money. Like, the way they've been handling this game recently is shit. Like, it's really shit. So it's so unfucking surprising that this happened. By the way, I should not have cast that. Okay. Yeah, I think that definitely, that's what Ari was saying. I definitely think FGO having basically no business. Wow, this is fucked. Like, I should have reset, because not getting I got 0 NP because I had no, you know, opening cards. You know, St. George from the grave. He's not here, but, you know, I'm still blaming him. That put me so. I'm gonna, like, cheat. I need to just make sure we beat this, for God's sakes. And I don't want to use regular coup or anyone crazy OP like that, but I'm running out of command spells here. That was so fucking stupid though. Like I could not getting my NP after all that time. That was messed up. Yeah, if whales don't have a reason to spend money, that's DW's fault. But another thing, it is such a flaw in their business model to only rely on whales. That is such a flaw. Look at Genshin Impact, right? They have a million ways to monetize outside of whales, and they're probably going to add more. I guarantee you Genshin Impact is going to put out skins at some point that you can buy for 10 bucks, 20 bucks, or whatever. It's so going to happen, right? And Seven Deadly Sins does that, and like, you know, all those games have safety nets. Fucking Genshin Impact has a safety net, for God's sakes, right? Because people don't realize that safety nets translate to people spending like 30 bucks instead of, you know, and so people like whales and dolphins will actually give you money, right? And you can subscribe to Genshin Impact for like $5 and you get a lot of like SQ, like way more than, if you spent $5 to buy SQ in Genshin Impact, you wouldn't get that much. Where if you spend $5 to subscribe to Genshin Impact, you actually get a fuckload like for that $5 worth. You can only subscribe once per month, obviously, but you know, they do things like that. You know, they do a lot. It's obvious that other games are aware that you're not everyone's a whale, and you need to try to monetize to at least some extent people that aren't whales, and that's good. It's not bad for the customer. Now, it can be bad if it's handled poorly, and especially in buy-to-play games, it's a problem. But if a free-to-play game is like, yeah, we sell cosmetic skins for, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 bucks, whatever, that's fine. Like, because again, if you don't want to buy that stuff, it's just cosmetic. Right? But there's so many people like me that have disposable income and want to support the games that they like, but I'm not going to whale, right? But I've said this for years. How on earth is someone like me supposed to support FGO? I couldn't do it if I wanted to, right? And meanwhile, Genshin Impact in 5 seconds gave me a way to support them without having to whale, right? So it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's just crazy. Like, so for FGO, I think it's a combination of bad business practices, right? Very just foolish business practices. You cannot argue this. They have not diversified their revenue streams, right? That might sound like a complicated saying. It's not. It's a basic ass business principle to diversify your revenue streams. This is so basic, right? Because you can target different demographics. You can, if one thing fails, another thing can support you. There's a million reasons to do this. Almost every game ever does this, especially free-to-play ones. It is insanity that this game has only one form of monetization. That is absolute insanity. And especially how the industry has left them in the dust in terms of business model, right? So that's a big part of it. And the other part is just lack of effort. I don't think you can deny that they have been coasting for quite some time here. Like, this last year and a half has been pathetic when it comes to, like, the number of events, the number of main story, welfares, animation updates, you know, the events being innovated in the first place. Like, it's just boring. And, like, Cairo doesn't play FGO much anymore, and we've talked about it. It's not because he doesn't like Fate anymore. It's not because he has an issue with, like, the core gameplay. It's because the game is just boring, right? Like, they have not innovated in so long. They have been copy-pasting this same piece of shit event formula since day one, and they are afraid to try new things. They're afraid to add a new game mode. Like they have not innovated in any way. You know, the most innovative thing they ever did was like break bars, and that was good for the game, absolutely. But that's about all they've ever done was break bars, and I guess adding challenge quests. We didn't have challenge quests at the beginning, right? That's pretty much all they've done in this entire time. That's pathetic. I mean, that's fucking pathetic. You can love FGO as much as you want. I like Fate, but like, that's pathetic. And I guess Setsuban was innovative, but again, wasn't a permanent game mode. Meanwhile, other games have literally made permanent versions of Setsuban, right? It's silly. I know, they had so few events last year that basically can't. Actually, it's not true. They can still rerun like a motherfucker. Because they can still rerun like a motherfucker. Because they skipped certain events last time, so they could bring those back. And you also have, like, there's certain events that they don't rerun every year. They would do every 2 years. Like collab events and stuff, they never rerun a collab event next year. They always do it the year after. So because of that, and so you have things like case files and stuff, and then main interludes, you could still do so many reruns this year if they wanted to. Because yeah, they've skipped several reruns that they could bring back at any time, and then there's bi-yearly stuff that they could still do, and then there's main interludes. So believe me, if they wanted to be lazy and not put out a lot of new content, they could still do that. Like, they could easily still do that. Like, it's just weird when the game gets more profitable because, you know, last year they were very profitable. It's stupid to go from being making that much money and then not investing that back into the game. And then, like, putting that into better polish and more game modes and all that stuff. And hiring more staff. Because, like, for instance, if animation updates are a problem and they don't have enough staff to keep up with animation updates while making new characters, you hire new artists. Obviously. Right? Like, that's what that's like the basic thing to do. Oh yeah, and there's a lot of problems for new players, absolutely. It's so fixable though. I tell you, man, FGO is so fixable. Oh my god, it's so easy for them. It's gonna take some effort, but like, my god, there's so many ways that, you know, they could turn this ship around. I'm not sure they're going to, but you know, we'll see. Man, we might still lose. That's pathetic. God, Proto-Coup, please. Like, whenever you have a damage CE and you have a turn like this and you're wasting a turn, that's pretty bad. And it's the turn that we have our NT. Yeah, I think we're still gonna fucking lose. Wow, Proto-Coup, man, you woo, boy, that is sad. That is fucking sad. I mean, some of it's bad luck. The way the damage ratios worked out here, we actually basically didn't benefit from our CE at all. So that's pretty shit, but still. So, Fire Emblem Heroes has almost the opposite problem of FGO, where it has a lot of game modes, but most of them aren't very well thought out, and they're kind of just throwaway. So, like, that's like a whole other problem. And its core gameplay is not very good. Like, Fire Emblem Heroes' core gameplay is so simplistic, and it's so dumbed down. Where FGO actually has very good core gameplay that has a lot of potential for depth. So, like, there's just... You know, there's a lot of things in FGO's favor, they're just not really using it well. I forgot to give him the defense removal command code. Oh my god. That ain't good. I need to not die this turn. I can't believe I didn't give him the defense removal command code. That's a bad move. Yeah, and Fire Emblem Heroes has definitely power creep issues, and you know, it's a lot of like, you know, endless grinding and that kind of thing. It's got a whole other kettle of fish, but at least they do try new things, and the game is certainly better than it was day one. I'll say that. Oh yeah, whoever designs boss fights for FGO, man, wow, I cannot believe Proto-Coup didn't just lose. He didn't get close. Like, obviously, we were about to get our skill back, and we could use Atlas, and like, he could have done a lot better than that, but that's just sad. That's just sad. Oh my god, can somebody buff Proto-Coup, please? That is pathetic. I will say, though, that was truly bad luck. We lost a whole turn because of the way the break bar worked, and I didn't give him the right command code, and then we had really bad luck like damage ratios and survival there. Like, we could have, he might have been able to beat that, to be honest, but I just saw you probably could beat that, but that was fucking pathetic. Well, now we have to do a team because I can't fuck around anymore, so I guess we just do whatever. Oh my god, my phone arm just like got unhooked from my desk for a second there, and it like started falling over. That was a mess. Thankfully I caught it. I need to buy a new phone arm soon. This thing is, it's just too old now, and it doesn't like hold up as well as it used to. It's about time. Oh god, it's like busted now. I mean, it still kind of works. There we go. Oh yeah, that team was funny. Okay, we'll do something silly. Man, if I could summon my other coup, I could do triple coup. Waiver would be the smart thing, but I don't want to do that. I'm gonna bring Achilles because he needs Bond. He's like super close to Bond 10. Yeah. Twitch, please. Wait, what's... Did we have another hiccup? Yeah, I didn't. I haven't had any more drop frames, so... The lack of a safety net is crazy, but they also just need to fix a lot of core gameplay stuff. You know, they need better catch-up systems for new players, better ways to get materials and stuff, funner ways to get materials. Oh my god. Like, what is wrong with them? Like, a lot of other games, they give you fun things to do to, like, getting QP should not be boring. You should have, like, a boss fight that's dedicated to getting QP, right? And then you should have, like, a boss fight dedicated to get embers and stuff. Like, what? That's way better than the horse shit they're doing right now. That's what a lot of other games do now. Because farming is dull, right? Farming is dull and inefficient. That's like a big thing. The farming that they have available to new players is so inefficient that it is just silly, right? So they need to try to make the farming more interesting, less AP costs, and just, you know, better drop rates and that kind of thing. But yeah, and then just, you know, story replay, a challenge tower. Like a repeatable challenge tower would be awesome, and most games have that now. I'm actually... it's weird they haven't done that. Like, it's so standard these days. I still don't have the command code to get rid of defense buff, by the way. I guess I'll just make it more interesting. Like, even Epic 7 demands way more farming out of you for its in-game. That's because its in-game is PvP, so, you know, you kind of have to be maximum about everything, which is, you know, not great, but its farming is still better. Like, you have a lot of different boss fights that you need to start building up, like, certain style of teams for to beat, right? And that's actually pretty good. Now, the way they actually handle the loot in Epic 7 is atrocious, but... And the Abyss mode in Epic 7 is good as well. What hurts the Abyss mode in Epic 7 is the fact that it's gear-based, right? So you'll beat a floor and it was hard at the time, but if you go back to replay it for funsies, you probably outgeared it now, and now it's no longer relevant, even if the gimmicks are interesting. Where FGO doesn't really have that problem, so they could... God, an Abyss-type system for FGO would be awesome. Yeah, actually, here's the thing. QP is not an issue for everybody. It's just a fact. Now, no account has problem with QPs early on, but once you get way farther in the game, and anytime you deal with skills, you're always max upgrading skills and then higher rarity units and things like that, then it starts to be a real problem, right? Like, for people that have a lot of 5 stars and you're trying to max their skills, I mean, you will have massive QP problems. But a lot of free-to-play people are honestly never going to have that many problems with QP, because 1 to 3 stars don't cost anything on the QP front. And if you happen to do an event or two, because every once in a while they put out an event that just gives you QP like candy, like Summer 5 and things like that, and even this event gives out a fair amount, that you can easily just like never deal with it. But the longer you play and the more 5 stars you get, especially if you like those 5 stars, it can, even for a free-to-play, you can have issues with QP eventually. It takes a long time. But if you're someone like me, that's like, you know, really focuses on the low stars and stuff anyway, and you only kind of cherry pick a few golds that you really like, because I don't like that many golds, I never have QP problems, especially on my newbie account and like my 1 to 3 star account. Like, they're never gonna have QP problems, and they don't even farm. They literally don't even farm. I don't even do anything to get QP, and they don't have QP problems. But yeah, it's pretty easy to be in a situation where QP is not a problem in FGO, and it's pretty easy to be in a situation where it is a problem. It kind of just depends on the kind of player that you are. Yeah, not having the defense removal is pretty bad. That is a big fucking defense up, man. Like, Jesus. But yeah, the meme of QP Hell is not just a meme. A lot of people have QP issues. But I will say this, it's pretty easy to get out of QP Hell if you're in it, if you put effort into it. So it's, you know, ultimately it's not, you know, it's not that bad, I would say. Buster Chain versus getting Hans's NP. And we'll do Buster Chain. There's just so many ways they could make everything better. Like I've said this, I think a challenge tower is one of the best investments they could do because it allows them to fix a lot of problems at the same time. So for example, you make the challenge tower available like when you beat Fuyuki, for God's sakes, right? And you make the first, you know, 10 floors or whatever, basically an optional kind of harder tutorial to kind of show people things like the usefulness of David and George and stuff for harder content, right? And so you make the first 10 floors kind of hand-holdy, and it's like they give you a support David, and you make it a gimmick where it's like preset units, and the only way you're going to really beat it is if you save David's second skill for like when the enemy does an AoE and P and things like that, right? You do some basic units that have synergy with it, right? And that's how you beat it, right? And that kind of just shows people how not to be an idiot. But then you make the reward like, oh hey, and you get 10 Void Dust, or you get, you know, 10 Chimera Claws or whatever, right? And so for new players, that's like, oh, that's nice, and it kind of gets you a leg up. It kind of gets you a boost on ascending your units. And oh, and this stage gives you 30 gold embers, right? And then so old players, because let's say the challenge tower exists, you know, you're gonna have veterans want to do it. They're gonna, you know, like, yeah, the first few floors are pretty boring, but hey guys, cool, I got some nice mats. So they're not gonna go, like, seriously, as a veteran, I'm not gonna complain if I do like a tutorial floor in the challenge tower which shows me how to use David or something like that, like, you know, like how you use Merlin and David and stuff, right? I'm not, you know, if the reward's 10 Void Dust or whatever, I'm not gonna bitch. I'm gonna be like, hell yeah! And so after the first 10 floors, right, maybe you make, you know, floor 10 to 20, a good bit harder, still not gonna be anything, you know, too hard for a veteran or whatever, and maybe you make it where people can bring their own units instead of, like, you know, hand-holdy stuff. But it's still doable by a new player, but it's like, this is clearly gonna be pretty, if you're a new player, you make floor 10 to 20 quite tough, and, you know, maybe they're gonna do it later, but if they try, they can beat it and have like a challenge if they want to, right? It's like, oh, hey, I wanna have a hard experience, and so I'll play this, right? So a new player can beat it, but it's gonna be tough, right? And then you make it so then, you know, floor 21 to 30 or whatever, that is definitely not going to be done by a new player. They can clearly see, oh, I need to come back and do this later. This is not even designed for me. I'm not going to feel like an idiot if I fail. It's just obvious I'm not even supposed to do this. I'm supposed to go do other things and come back, right? So you do that. But then at that point, from kind of floor, you know, floor 21 and on, it's like actually good for, you know, veteran players too. Like, oh, hey, this is going to be fun, right? And you kind of just ramp it up from there. And then, like, from, you know, floor 50 or whatever and on, you make it where, like, end game, right? Like on par with what you would see at end game. And then again, all of these floors give rewards. So you can make the first 20 floors give you some pretty nice rewards that really give a new player a shot in the arm, so they can kind of get some units ascended, you know, nice and smoothly, get some mats and stuff, and that kind of thing, and then come back to it later when they're more prepared and you know, kind of move on. And so it's good for vets, it's good for rewards, it's good for replayability because you allow people to replay any of the floors. Obviously, the first 20 or so floors are probably going to have almost no replay value, but that's okay, right? That's not a big deal. They're kind of to ease you into it. But you can make all the other floors actually interesting, and maybe even you can even revisit old boss fights. You can have one of the Abyss floors be like the Gwaine boss fight from Camelot, but harder. Make it like the anniversary version, right? That had the higher HP and stuff. You know that. So then you have replay value just for fun, and you get rewards, and you teach people what they're doing. So I think it's a great idea because and also you can make the material to do it something independent from AP, right? That's what most games do, is they have something like that. Like, once you've beaten a floor, you can redo it for fun for free, and, you know, beating it the first time costs like BP instead of AP. It's like an independent system or whatever, right? Like, that's really good for games, right? Like, what I just described is so basic, but I think it'd be so helpful to the game. Oh, that's another thing, Lost, right? You could also make some of the rewards CEs, right? Like basic CEs to kind of give you a leg up to kind of catch up with everyone. They don't have to be CEs that are so good that they're not on par with like event ones, but they could do a Star Bomb CE for like 13 stars or something, right? That's obviously not as good as like the 20-star bomb CEs that are pretty standard from events, right? But that's a nice catch-up. It's like, oh yeah, in the meantime, you do like a one-turn taunt CE, and a 50% starting NP with kind of meh stats, but it's 50% starting NP, so that's helpful. Or just make a reward a limit broken ley line. You just do you do floor 8, you beat floor 8, and they give you 20 gold XP embers, 2 hero proofs, and a limit broken ley line, right? That's nothing broken, that's nothing crazy at all. That's a nice leg up for new players, right? And then even, vets won't hate it. It's just stuff like that I think would be again, it's so much boom for your buck to invest in like a challenge tower system, because it allows you to, kind of catch players up, teach them the game better, have some fun content, have rewards, and then replayability later and challenge later. So it's so many things in one place that I think it's one of the best things we could do for the game. Is like a challenge tower, but they're so fucking lazy, man. Like, oh my god, like when was the last time they did anything innovative like that? So yeah, I don't really see it happening anytime soon, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know, man. And yeah, you can throw an old event CEs. There's all kinds of ways you can handle it. And then what Epic 7 does, wait, really? Oh, okay, Protoku could have soloed this. I didn't realize that you only had to break 2 health bars. That's so, what the fuck, that's so disappointing. Because I could have used Atlas early. I could have just used Atlas early and done Protoku's evade, and he would have won. You could do this easy with Protoku. This would have been nothing. I didn't realize all you had to do was break the 2nd health bar. I'm so disappointed now. I was all stocked up for the long run. We were gonna Hans NP there. No, fuck, I'm so pissed. That was a nothing stage. I kept quitting and stuff and like trying to get the long-term value when I just needed short-term value. Well, that sucked. I thought that was a real thing, but it wasn't. I think this is the escort quest. We can probably just use our dumbass team here. Just in case something goes wrong, we'll have big girl Martha in the wings there. Yeah, rotating story banner, that'd be good too, especially combined with the safety net. Like, I'm telling you, there's some small things they could do to make this game so much better. Safety net is a huge one, selling skins is a huge one. That stuff wouldn't take a lot of time to do. And then start working on implementing a challenge tower, and then story replay, and, then start making better events, and start, doing that. Better events would just help a lot. And they make good events every once in a while, but oh my god, some of them are so fucking boring. Had some more health on these than I would have thought. Probably shouldn't have done Gwain's 3rd skill there just because I didn't need his NP yet, and I could have gotten the star bomb when I had made stars on a previous turn, right? So that would have been better. Yeah, Epic 7 does the whole, like, they have new banners as like the focus hype rate up, but they also have like a rotating banner that's like for old characters that's always going on. I think it's so weird they don't do that. It's just, again, wasted money. Tesla, for example, doesn't have that many fans, but he has some. And you'll get, money from them when he is rated up, or you'll eat into their free SQs, so you might get money out of them later, right? So it's like, there's just no reason not to do that. And there's so many, that's why it really bugs me the way DW handles this game, because they don't keep up with the times, and I don't just mean with other games, I mean with themselves. Like, they keep the same systems when they don't work anymore, because there's more things now. There's so many CEs in 5 stars in the default pool now that it's bullshit. Right, so of course you need a rotating rate up. That's what happened with Epic 7. When Epic 7 first launched, there wasn't so many 5 stars and stuff that you needed something like that. But as time goes on, there's so many 5 stars, like Epic 7 couldn't like rate up every 5-star once a year anyway, because there's too many of them now, right? And then like if no one's gonna roll story because the generic pool is so diluted. So it's like you have to keep up with the times, and so you're no longer even gonna get whales to roll story anymore, so you've got to do the banner thing. And like again, they don't have enough time in the year to rate up everyone anymore. FGO certainly doesn't, so of course you need a rotating banner like that. And every other game realizes this and starts to do these things after their character roster starts getting so large. But FGO doesn't, because they're just stupid and they just copy paste everything for infinity, and then they don't realize that like the situation they're in now is not the same as the situation they were in then, because their roster is different and all these other things, and you have more established accounts and so many things. So it really gets frustrating that they can't even keep up with like basic, like it's so basic for video games, like, oh yeah, well, once our roster gets really big, then you have like a rotating story banner, right? That is so basic these days. I mean, if they're not thinking about these things, something is wrong with them, because they're the developer and that's their job, and again, it's so profitable. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have suspected that DW doesn't really care about FGO that much, because they don't see a cut of like the merchandise sales and those things, and Aniplex may not actually pay them very well, we have no idea, and they've been working on other games, with other publishers and things like that they might get a bigger cut of the pie, and so they're more interested in those things. Like, DW is working on at least 2 other games, as far as I'm aware right now. And so they may just be caring a lot more about that in the long run, because they're like, oh wow, look how much money FGO can make, but we don't get to see as much of that pie as we would like. But if we make a new game where we get that pie, and we take the things that we've learned from FGO and we put into this other game. The thing is, now, if that's the case, you can't really blame DW if that's their plan in the long run, but you can blame Aniplex, right? Because it's Aniplex's job to keep their own products and stuff on course. And if they think their developer is being lazy and whatnot, then you either need to pay them more or fire them or hire new people or whatever, right? Like, seriously, if Aniplex is sitting here like, okay, DW doesn't give a shit about FGO anymore, even though it's our fucking golden goose, and they're focusing on these other games, we need to either pay them more to make them actually care about FGO, or if they're not going to care, we need to fire them and bring in people that will care, right? Like, that's ultimately a publisher's job, is to keep shit on course, right? So if DW is seriously just phoning it in and avoiding responsibility and putting all their because can you imagine if DW puts out, what's that game they're working on, like It's Difficult Becoming an Adult or whatever, when that game finally comes out, and then, I don't know, they're making that soccer or whatever game. When those games come out, if they're like, oh, look, we have a safety net, and then after the game's been out for a year, they start doing like a rotating story banner, and they have story replay, and they have a challenge tower, then that means they know it's just they don't care about FGO, right? And that might happen. We might see that. We might see DW come out with these other 2 games they're working on, and then they have all the bells and whistles and stuff. But in that place, Aniplex needs to crack the whip, because that's their job. You shouldn't allow them to be so fucking lazy. That's true. I doubt Aniplex even realize, right? Because most of the time, executives and stuff, everything I've said in today's stream, they don't understand. Right? They don't have a fucking clue. It's more about hiring people that do understand and let them worry about it, and they care about the bottom line and supplying the money. Right? So it's not like Aniplex would even notice. And that's what Lost has said before, is he thinks like DW is basically trying to act like they're working when they're not. And I've seen a lot of evidence of that, where they put out updates that will make executives think, oh, they're still working on the game, but they're bullshit. I mean, look at the 5th year anniversary. That was so much mouth service. That was so much, hey, look, we're doing things, but we're not actually doing things. And they've been like that for a while. Well, they put out these quality of life updates that are just crap. That they don't affect the game in any meaningful way. It's nothing like a safety net or a rotating story banner or new dailies or better rates on drops or, it's none of that stuff. It's bullshit that sounds like, hey, look, we're still updating the game for the fans, but they're not actually really doing anything. Like, they've been doing that for a while, so that could be the case, and Aniplex just didn't realize. If Aniplex didn't realize, though, they know now, right? Like, literally, because that's what financial reports are basically for. It's reporting to your investors and stuff, because, public companies and everything. So if they did not know, they absolutely know now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, they do so many quality of life updates that aren't actually quality of life updates. Like, oh my god, some of them are so stupid. I mean, at this point, people have talked about COVID so much, like, I don't need to bring it up again, but, like, there's always going to be an idiot that thinks that, but it's like, that's so blatantly not the case, and the evidence is overwhelming. And I think my chat can explain it at this point, so I've had to say it so many times. Like, short answer, video game industry making record money as a whole because of COVID, because everyone's staying at home, right? And so if your game is failing, it's not because of COVID. I don't think that the jig is up though. Like, I think in turn, the only way the jig is up is if DW just keeps not caring and they're caring about these other games, and then Aniplex just doesn't know what to do about it, right? That's the only way the jig is up, right? And hopefully Aniplex is smart enough for that not to be the case. And I will defend DW a bit here. Truly, if Aniplex has not been paying them well and stuff, if they're not getting a good cut of the pie, you can't really blame them for phoning it in. I mean, would you go above and beyond if you're not actually getting paid very much, even though you've got a golden goose, right? And I've said this before. I mean, I know there's no way. I know the video game industry enough. There's no way, like, year 1 and 2 were all that great for DW. There's no way. Because they've even said this, you know, FGO was originally supposed to be shovelware, and it wasn't supposed to last very long. And DW was a nobody company. They were a nobody company. You do not hire a nobody company to make shovelware and make a contract that is favorable to them. You don't do that. You know, Aniplex will go for a nobody company to make shovelware because they don't want to give them a favorable contract. Because, you know, these crappy devs that have, like, no experience and stuff just want the experience and the exposure and stuff, and right, so they'll work for pennies. And then, because FGO is an abnormal game, they have 2 publishers, right? They have Type Moon as well, and as from what I've heard of their contract, it is very favorable to Type Moon, and like Type Moon holds all character rights and things like that. Like, Aniplex and DW are not even allowed to make designs without Type Moon's okay, and then those designs are actually owned by Type Moon, right? So there's really no world where, especially in the first year of the game, and the first, even second year of the game, that DW was making money. There's good money. There's just no way, right? Because you're having to split the profit with, or the revenue, you have to split the revenue with Type Moon, Aniplex, and then Apple and Google, right? So, you know, there's no way DW was doing so hot at the beginning. Now, normally what happens, and I say normally because not always, normally what happens when you have a situation like that, where an original contract was kind of bullshitting the developer, normally the contract will get renegotiated after a few years, and the developer will get, you know, cut in on, like, more what's fair, right? Now, sometimes that doesn't happen. You hear horror stories, you know, never mind mobile games, you hear horror stories from, like, EA and Activision and stuff, where they still screw over developers, and even when they're having IP that's crazy profitable, the publishers still go, like, try so hard to screw over the developer and give them horrible contracts and stuff. And so that could be the case. And at that point, fuck Aniplex. If I was DW, I'd be phoning it in too. Like, seriously. But we don't know if that's the case. There's no way to really know. That's behind the scenes kind of stuff. And a lot of times what can happen, though, is the initial contract can be trash, and you're not allowed to renegotiate it for a long time, right? That can happen sometimes. Like, who knows? Their initial contract could have been 5 years. I doubt it, but it could have been. And if that's the case, you know, DW's beginning, you know, taken out back and screwed over this whole fucking time. And if I were them, I wouldn't give Aniplex the time of day either. So, you know, now if you're smart, Aniplex should be like, yeah, we don't want to, it's stupid for us to screw over our developer for our golden goose, and we should renegotiate the contract, and we should give them more money, that way they don't screw us. But Aniplex can be fucking stupid, and maybe they haven't been doing that, and if that's the case, fuck them. Like, seriously, and it sucks to see an IP I like go to shit because of that, but this may easily be Aniplex's fault. Because seriously, you can't tell me you're going to be working, you know, 40, 50, 60 hours for some piece of shit publisher that barely is paying you, even though the game is making a lot of revenue. You know, it wouldn't be that surprising if you start phoning it in and start working on other projects, right? You basically meet the bare minimum requirement for your contract, and you put all your actual effort into other things, right? Because they're making that soccer a game, which I don't even know what the fuck that game is. And they're making that, it's difficult becoming an adult or whatever, right? And they might be putting all of their effort there. Okay, let's hear it, Beastly. Let's see it. If you can post it, I'll we'll play it on stream. I want to see this. Beastly always makes such good stuff. So. Oh, see, okay, you sent it to me. Okay, hold on. Let me get this. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Sometimes it won't let me play the sound through Discord, so I have to download it. So just give me a second. Okay, I think I got it. DW internal revenue meeting. Okay, this will be good.
Are you telling me we lost 81% of our profits? That's it. We have to do the unthinkable. We have to unleash Muramasa.
Wait, if we release Muramasa, now we will pay a week. How about we release Van Gogh, but in the dumbest way possible?
That is a great idea. Give yourself 1% of the remaining profit.
Yeah, Van Gogh is the savior. That's fucking Sonic. Oh my god. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it is funny because they obviously saw this coming, right? So, yeah, they knew about, you know, DW themselves knew about the situation long before everyone else did, so. Good old Van Gogh. Alright, what am I? Assassin. I don't remember what the assassin one was. My scuffed JP. I think that's Saber Nero right there. Let's use some Penth. Haven't used Penth in a while. Go double Hans. There we go. I should use Mash. That's a lot more intelligent than using double Hans, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't even know. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that we just learned that they lost 81% of their profit and then they put out Van Gogh. I didn't really even think about that. Van Gogh has been pretty poorly received from what I've seen, but that's mainly from NA people. So from JP, it actually might have been well received. I'm not really sure. Give me a second. I need more water, man. I'm going through. Okay, we got. That's right. This stage is a nothing stage. You just need to get rid of the debuffs, right? Like literally, I did not remove this boss's gimmick, and it's just a 300k. And literally, there's so many servants you could bring to just instantly get rid of the debuffs, like Martha or something, right? Like, there's so many ways to clear the debuffs and Asclepius and things like that. We might have a little bit of trouble though because we didn't bring any way to deal with the debuffs, and you know this is gonna hurt a bit, but we can kill this guy really fast if we don't instantly die. Yeah, they planned Van Gogh a while. No, they did not plan it 2 years in advance. It's not that much. It does take the advanced time to make characters. That's a known thing. But not that long, and they knew they've known this situation for quite a while, right? It's not like halfway through the year they're like, oh yeah, this is totally going well, and they probably knew pretty early on this wasn't going great. Generally, it's like 6 months or so in advance that things are designed. Now, there are specific instances where things are designed way more in advance than that, and some examples they have given of that is Gramps. Gramps was designed day 1. And actually, Canis was designed day 1, which is insanity to me because it took them so fucking long to put Canis in the game. But yeah, they said Canis was actually a design that they had planned out from the beginning. But most characters aren't like that, right? Like, obviously, Gramps and Canis are main story servants and stuff that are like especially Gramps, he's so integral to the main story. That's obviously something they had planned in advance. Event stuff is not like that. Like, rarely are the event servants done like that. So generally they're planned more in like 6 months in advance. But they've known for more than 6 months that things were taking a nosedive. Like, obviously. That, to be fair though, now DW works with Type Moon all the time, right? But Type Moon is in charge of okaying designs. Now Type Moon doesn't design a lot of the characters, they design some of them, they design a good number of them, but they don't design all of them by any means, but they have to okay them. But it's up to DW to kind of work with them to, you know, do what they think makes sense, so. Yeah, they've had a few characters that were planned pretty early. Most of those are now, I would say, are exhausted though. Damn, I don't have any command codes to remove dots because there's like a million of them. I don't think this event was planned on being released before summer. I do think it actually was planned to be released a little while ago, though. A little sooner than it was. Yeah, okay, we're gonna need... I mean, we probably can still win with this horse Bindo, but if we could have removed those dots, that would have been swell. That just feels bad, man. I wonder how much crit damage we can get right here, though. I was supposed to get water. Oh. Oh. Didn't even get Hans's NP there. Okay, I'll be right back. I gotta get water. I do wonder though with Type Moon, because Type Moon just gets paid, you know, straight pretty much, and I'm sure they get a percentage of like the money from FGO, but like they get money from merchandise and all these other things. So I bet you Type Moon is just making a killing right now. Like they probably have more money than they ever know what to do with, because they're not a very big company, so they're not having to split the money in that many directions. And then seriously, the merchandise sales are huge for Fate. Right, and then they're getting free money off FGO and every other Fate game, and they make money off like Fate Strange Fake, right? Like now, Natsu actually has put in work on Fate Strange Fake. He didn't just give it his blessing. He actually worked with the writer some. So it's not like that took any, that took time. You know, that's effort there. But still, most of the work is not being done by Type Moon for Fate Strange Fake, and they're making money off of it too. So they're making so much money and they have so little cost that. You know, I doubt they have to work another day in their life if they don't want to. So, which might be why we don't have the. But actually, from what I know, Natsu actually just through passion works on like FGO and the other books and stuff like a lot, and I don't blame him. Even if I had money, you know, if I had made an IP like that, I would obviously want to, you know, put a lot of effort into it too, just because you care about it. I can't believe I messed up this thing right here. I was hoping to like get that one space that I was going to clear for it would open it up, and then you beat it, you get the other two spaces, but you know. Oh, this is a filler stage. I'm gonna just blow this one up. These suck. Tsukihime remake though, they keep saying that they have not given up on it, they haven't like dropped development on it or anything, so. And actually, I think they said in like, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I want to say, they actually said it was fairly far along. But you know, they put a lot of time into like, you know, FGO stuff and other things, so it still might be a while. But I do think it's going to happen. What I'm kind of expecting is once 2.0 is finished, then we see like the Tsukihime remake get finished up and that kind of thing. Because now Natsu's been, I gotta tell you, I think Natsu himself doesn't know what he wants to do, because I've seen a lot of evidence from that, and I've seen this from other people that like own popular IPs that other people work on, where they say, oh, I'm gonna take a step back, but then they just can't, and they're like glued to it. Because Natsu, I remember he said he was gonna kind of step back from FGO after 2.0, and was gonna maybe work on other things more. But literally the next interview, he was like, "Oh yeah, I've actually been working a lot now on the story outline for 3.0 and stuff." He just reeks of somebody that wants to be okay with just like being a bit more hands off, but he just can't. And he every time there's a Fate project being worked on, he just has to be involved in it. And I know early on in FGO he wasn't really involved at all, and that's because I think he didn't really respect the whole mobile stuff. But then the game started making a lot more money, so then Typhoon started working on it more, and then he started actually writing for them and stuff. So, and at this point, I think he just can't. He can't just be an advisory role, right? He doesn't want to just give a little bit of input. He wants to have a lot of input. Like, he reeks of that, which I mean, fair enough. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. But because of that, I think the Tsukihime remake is on the back burner kind of hard. I mean, I truly think he's going to take more of a break in 3.0. Like, obviously he's already been involved in it, and he's said he's been writing the plot outlines and stuff. But I suspect he's not going to be as involved, right? I think he's gonna, because the Typhoon surely wants to work on some other stuff. Oh yeah, I bet you he probably was working on the extra remake too. Fuck, he might even just rewrote the whole damn thing. I don't know who's the writer for the remake. I'm not sure he said, but it wouldn't shock me if Typhoon just wrote the whole damn thing again. I don't know though. We'll see. And obviously they're gonna reference the original writing a lot, like a lot. But it's still busy work, because I don't think they're gonna just copy paste the wording on everything, right? Yeah, they'll probably keep the art cameo. And hell, they'll probably add more cameos. Seriously, I'd imagine they'll throw in some other, bullshit servants for like side bosses and stuff, because why not? See, what DW said in an interview, this was like 2 years ago though. This is quite a while ago. They said they wanted to collab with Tsukihime, but they would wait for the remake. He literally said that. They were like, yeah, we'll totally collab with Tsukihime. We'll wait for, the remake will be out soon, right? Right? And yeah, so that was several years ago, so. But it makes sense to not, it doesn't really make sense to collab with Tsukihime and then have the remake come out, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Because you might have the old designs versus the new designs and so on and so forth, so it makes sense to wait.
だから言ったじゃねえか。こちとら人生半分を戦いにあげくれたんだ。
I just hope the extra remake has good gameplay, but I don't think it will. Everything I saw from the trailer, it looks like it's just a glorified version of what the original was. It's basically paper, rock, scissors, just like the original, but you have a deck of paper, rock, scissors cards. That just does not sound good to me at all. Like, that sounds shit. So I'm fearful that the gameplay is going to be... And let's be real, Fate's track record has not been very good when it comes to depth and gameplay. It really isn't fucking Ys Origins 2. At least, it didn't take me too long to beat him this time, but that's, I think, because I actually upgraded my equipment, and I don't think I had playthrough before that. But it still took, like, four or five tries, I think. It might have been even more than that, I'm not sure. But anyway, fucking Caterpillar. Seriously though, most Fate games have really shallow gameplay that's not very good. Like, overwhelmingly, that's how they've been. Funnily enough, when FGO actually puts out boss fights worth a fuck, it's probably the Fate game with the most in-depth gameplay. Like, Stella Link and everything is just super shallow Dynasty Warrior stuff. There's other Dynasty Warrior style games that are still shallow, but they're way better than Stella Link is. Like, it's so shallow. And then, like, Fate Extra and CCC are very fucking shallow. I mean, they're literally paper, rock, scissors. Like, wow, that's entertaining. Unlimited Codes is shallow as fuck fighting game as well. Like, the biggest problem with Unlimited Codes is the fact that it's just not balanced in any way, shape, or form, right? They did a decent job in making fun combos and, flashy moves and everything. Like, in that department, they did fine. But it's a terrible fighting game from, like, a competitive standpoint, right? From a single-player standpoint and just, messing around and, having fun like any other fighting game, it's okay. But, I mean, Unlimited Codes is a joke in the fighting game community. It's nothing. Like, it's not great. Melty Blood is a good fighting game, but it's not a Fate game, technically. That's more Link with Tsukihime and everything, so that doesn't really count. But that's a legit, fighting game. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I mean, Extella Link is a reskin of Dynasty Warriors. That is what it is. Like, they're not even hiding that fact. That's like a genre now. And yeah, it's very shallow. Like, Unlimited Codes is not shallow in terms of like its story and its music and like its presentation, but in terms of like being a good fighting game, it's, you know, especially in a competitive scene, it's nothing. But still probably better than Extella Link, I would say, in terms of depth. But that's so easy to do. I've said this for years. I truly think there's been bad blood between Type Moon and Arc System Works, and I don't think it's on Arc System Works' side, because Arc System Works is several times have said favorable things about Type Moon, like, oh yeah, we really like Type Moon, and they make cool stories and stuff. And Arc System Works has said many times over the years that they would love to work with Type Moon, and Arc System Works has worked with so many other developers and stuff and made fighting games for them that I think the only reason it hasn't happened is because of Type Moon. And I've had a feeling that there's bad blood between them for a long time, and I think Melty Blood might be a part of the reason. Like, it's hard to not think that there's bad blood between them because, you know, again, Arc System Works has been so willing to work with other developers, and they said they want to work with Type Moon, and yet they never do. And then so Melty Blood was a thing, right? It was made by French Bread. You know, they're a pretty small developer. But, you know, they worked with Type Moon to make Melty Blood, and although it was a cult game, like a cult hit, it's still fairly well received, right? But they had said they wanted to make a sequel to it and stuff, but it never happened, right? Like, so French Bread said they wanted to make a sequel to Melty Blood, but it never happened. That's probably because of Type Moon. Don't know why, but it's probably because of Type Moon. And then so, you know, French Bread's gotta pay the bills, man. They gotta make games. And so they ended up partnering up with Arc System Works instead and making other games with them. And this is just a fact. French Bread and Arc System Works have gotten along like two peas in a pod. They talk. They show up to conventions together all the time. French Bread has praised like Arc System Works a lot and said, like, you know, Arc System Works literally like shared. This is crazy. Devs don't normally do this kind of thing. So they're obviously like, you know, really getting along. Arc System Works shared like their game engine and stuff with French Bread. You just don't do that normally, right? Like, that's crazy. And they said Arc System Works like showed them a lot of stuff and really helped them like make their fighting games better with like what's their game, Under Night or something. I don't really remember what it's called, but that's like been their IP that they've worked on with Arc System Works a lot. And then Arc System Works has actually published for them, which that's pretty crazy because Arc System Works doesn't actually publish much. They're mostly a developer, but they've Under Night and Birth. Okay, that's a fucked up name. But yeah, these said that, you know, Arc System Works, you know, shared a lot of technology with them and gave them a lot of like advice and stuff. And again, they show up to conventions together all the time, so they get along great. So you would think that would be a bridge for them to work with Type Moon, but I honestly think Type Moon didn't like, something went wrong with them and French Bread or something, or they got mad because they went with Arc System Works or whatever. But there's just been a lot of evidence to me that something has gone wrong with French Bread and or Arc System Works, because Arc System Works is like, oh yeah, Fate's awesome, we'd love to work with Type Moon, and then literally Arc System Works has made games for fucking Grand Blue Fantasy. They made games for Persona, you know, Dragon Ball Z, for God's sakes. You know, they're very willing to work with other developers, and they've given their blessing for like collab events, you know, for like Epic 7 to use their characters, and several other games they've collabed with like that as well. And so they're cross tag. They've worked with, you know, they put other IPs in their game and stuff, and they even said they'd love to put in Fate into cross tag. But it never happens. So it's clearly on Type Moon's end. So I've kind of gotten a whiff of it seems like there's bad blood for some reason. Hopefully they can bury the hatchet or whatever, and because I'd love to have an Arc System Works Fate game. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I feel like it can't be a coincidence. It's been so many years. Arc System Works has expressed interest in working with them so many times. It's such a sensible thing to do that it seems like Type Moon doesn't want to, or they don't like them, or whatever. But you know, maybe they'll bury the hatchet, or they'll just, you know, money, or, you know, whatever, and maybe something will come of it. We'll just have to see. Let's do non-limit broken event CE. Hey, Fury. Actually, Type Moon loves collabs. They just don't do them in FGO. They collab with people all the time. That's yet another reason why I think there's bad blood, because Type Moon is so willing. Because I mean, they collabed with Battle Cats. They collabed with Battle Cats, right? No hate to Battle Cats, but that's a really random ass game. And they've collabed with multiple card games where you get like fake characters in the card games and stuff. And there's been a few other games. Like they collab with things all the time. Apparently, Ku is a 5-star in Battle Cats, so it's funny because he's a 3-star in FGO. Oh, we never beat this guy. Oh, I thought this was a different stage. We'll probably have to remove the gimmick on this guy, which sucks. But I don't. This account might be able to do it on a team without removing the gimmick, but definitely can't solo it. Arjuna was about the best bet, and he did do well, but it wasn't enough. Yeah, I've heard, that's what I was talking about. There's been a lot of evidence that French Bread was not happy with Type Moon, and it depends on what happened. You know, only know so much of what happened. But I would not blame French Bread for being pissed at Type Moon if French Bread, you know, they made a good game for them and it was fairly well received, and they wanted to make a sequel and they needed to make something to keep the lights on, and Type Moon was like no and kind of leaves them out to dry. I would not be surprised if French Bread was pissed, right? Now, we don't know what the reasons might have been. Maybe it was an oversight on Type Moon's part. There's all kinds of reasons. And maybe French Bread did something to Type Moon to deserve that ire. Who knows? But legit, that is a pretty bad, you know, look when your publisher's, you know, treating you like that. Because, yeah, Type Moon was the publisher for Multiblood. But, yeah, I know it's been kind of... It looks like French Bread is not particularly happy with Type Moon. And, you know, and it might have... from what I understand, they almost went under. French Bread almost went under because, you know, they were kind of expecting to do more Melty Blood, but then they didn't, and then they were kind of behind. And the only... From what I understand, the only reason French Bread did not go under as a company is because of Arc System Works. Arc System Works kind of swooped in and saved their ass, and then Arc System Works was also like bros about it. They didn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna take over your company and you have to sell stock to us, and you know they didn't do that at all. They literally just, you know, basically threw money at them and published a game for them and, you know, shared technology with them and, you know, basically just, you know, saved the day for them. So no wonder French Bread likes Arc System Works, because, you know, not only did they kind of swoop in and save them, but they did in that situation, a lot of publishers could have swept in and like demanded some bullshit contract, but, you know, Arc System Works didn't do that. So yeah, I don't blame them for, you know, being on board with them. But yeah, I don't really know what the fuck happened with Type Moon. But yeah, it is kind of fucked. I truly do wonder why FGO, or Type Moon, excuse me, didn't do more with the Melty Blood IP. My guess is they just, I don't know, we're busy with other things, or it was just, you know, because I know it was like a cult hit, but maybe it didn't like do as well as they wanted, and they didn't want to invest in another game, right? It's hard to say. I don't really know what the profits were like for Melty Blood because it came out over so many different years and versions and arcade stuff and all that nonsense. It's not the bonus drop that's here, but I don't even care. I think we need, she doesn't give the bonus drop we need. Now, I could absolutely make a team that could get more bonus drops, because I'm bringing a lot of characters that don't get bonus drops, but I have so much AP that I don't need to worry about that. Let's see, who else gives? Does this account have BB? How does this account not have BB? They've done CCC so many times. How have I never finished the CCC event? It's funny, I've got the main interlude, so I could always get BB that way. But apparently this account does not have BB. That's crazy. Wait, what are you talking about, Fury? About cringy what? Oh, collabs? Yeah, collabs aren't supposed to be serious, right? And some you know, games randomly take a bit more seriously than others, but yeah, normally it's just for fun. It's just an excuse to, you know, see things in a different engine and a different setting and stuff, which is just for fun. It's not like, you know, most like even Gundam crossover games, like Gundam with other Gundam stuff, you know, the writing is, you know, kind of an excuse and everything, right? It's not that big of a deal. I know like one guy that likes Septum, but yeah, generally nobody really likes that event. But I do know a guy that does. Also a huge Nero fan, which I don't think is a coincidence, but you never know. Okay, who the hell gives the drop that I want here? Jesus Christ. I know BB does, but again, this account apparently doesn't have her. What the hell? There we go. Holy crap, I could not find anybody that had the drop there. But yeah, I could work in some characters in the front row that would be bonus servants, and that would be a lot better, but I don't care. That's what I did in my main account, but also my main account was lucky because Edmund and Scatty were bonus servants, so that made it pretty easy. I found it very bad. I really think Septum is as bad as people say. I actually think it's worse than people say. Because it does, never mind, you know, the betrayal of Boudica's character and, you know, a show don't tell going out the window and all that kind of stuff. It makes the even larger sin. It makes probably the largest sin any story can make, and that is it's boring. It's fucking boring, and then it also has all those other problems. I mean, like, really, most Nero fans don't even like it because the pandering is so obvious. I don't see how anyone can take it seriously. You cannot tell me that that story did not go out of its way to try to be like, oh, Nero's awesome, right, guys? Nero's awesome. Look how awesome Nero is. Because you can't tell me that every fucking character in, like, it's so stupid. Everyone in Septum just bends over backwards to be like, oh my god, Nero's so awesome. Like, that, it's stupid. Like, literally everyone does. Like, Caesar does, Leonidas does, every antagonist does, I guess except for Darius because he's just yelling. You know, fucking Boudica does! Like, what? Like, Nero is the one that's responsible for all the pillaging and rape and destruction of her, and personal humiliation of her people, and she's hyping up Nero by the end of it. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, it is such pandering to just Nero. And then again, it's just the cardinal sin of tell. They're doing tell, don't show instead of the opposite. You're supposed, if you want a character to be awesome, you need to show them being awesome. They need to actually make awesome decisions, and they need to actually, you know, do awesome actions and do things that are awesome. But Nero doesn't do that ever. She doesn't do anything in Septum deserving of praise. She just shows up, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're so awesome. She never makes a good plan. She never, you know, there's never any like cool fight scenes explained like in visual novel bits. Nothing happens, right? She's just existing and everyone's like, oh my god, she's so awesome. And yeah, I mean, all of the early stories just have random characters there just cuz, and they don't do anything. Like, Septum fucking sucks, dude. Like, that's like it's such a bad story. Like, first off, it just has no depth to it. You know, it's so surface level. Oh, we're fighting this army. Now we're fighting this army. Now we're fighting this army. You know, it's so boring like that. There's no good writing. There's no, you know, like, you know, visual novel bits explaining what's going on in the fight scenes and stuff. There's none of that. And then the factions are just ABC. Everyone's just sucking Nero's dick just cuz. It's crap. I really think it is the worst story in FGO. And, you know, there's a few other, you know, zingers out there for FGO that weren't so good. But, because again, all that aside, it's just boring. Like, it's so boring. And all the early FGO stories, I would say, are kind of bad. Seriously, all the early FGO stories are pretty boring, right? They're not written particularly well. There's not much effort there's no, like, character arcs. There's no, you know, intrigue. They're very ABC video game, you know, basic B stories, right? Because there wasn't a lot of effort put into the early stories, and fair enough, right? So all of the early stories are pretty weak, right? They're quite weak. But then out of those, Septum is clearly the worst. Orleans is a little bit better. Okay, Orleans is like, out of the early stories, is the best one because its premise is pretty good, and it has some characterization, right? It's one of the only early FGO stories that actually has some character development stuff. It actually develops Mash's character. Like, Orleans actually has proper character development for Mash. right? And like her conversation with Mozart and everything, you know, that's pretty legit, right? And Sanson kind of has a character arc going on throughout Orleans, and so does Jolter, right? Orleans actually has potential. The problem with Orleans is the way it's handled. The potential is fine, and like the ideas behind it with what the character arcs are supposed to be are all fine. The problem is it's still very like basic bitch storytelling. There's no like visual novel fight scenes. It's just, oh, you know, ABC. You know, you don't like, you only see characterization for the bad guys like when you fight them, when you kill them, and that's it. You know, it's just, there's a lot of, you know, issues like that with it. But the premise is fine. Jolter's a pretty interesting character in Orleans. He obviously kind of butchered her character after that, but like she was pretty interesting in Orleans. You know, Sanson's got an independent kind of character arc, you know, is separate from her, that's like mirrored with what's going on with Antoinette and everything. And then you got, you know, actual character development from Nash with Mozart and all that. So, and the setting is cool, you know, because it was one of the, it's what I always say that I wish they would do. It's set in France, and there's French characters everywhere, right? So I would actually love a remake of Orleans that, like, you know, spruced up the storytelling, cut out a lot of the filler, you know, gave more like screen time to the bad guys when they're not interacting with you, you know, just did a bit more with it, right? I think it could be awesome because it's kind of just classical. It's just a classical set in France singularity. I want to see that for, like, you know, Nottingham and all the Camelot and all these other things, right? So honestly, Orleans does a lot right. It just does a lot wrong because it's old, right? It was old, didn't budget, time, effort, right? You know, Martha does nothing. I know, right? So things like that. You know, and it just, the writing in the early days is bad. It's really hard to argue that the writing in the early days is quite bad. It's very basic. It's very video gamey. It's like pre-stage battle dialogue and after-stage dialogue. You know, it's just, it doesn't do like full-on visual novel storytelling. And Nossos even said, because they weren't even trying to do that back then, right? They were saying, oh yeah, if we don't have an excuse to fight every few seconds, you know, people will be mad. But then they learned later on that people actually wanted them to like do full-on visual novel storytelling and stuff, right? So you know, good premise, not executed that well though. But yeah, Orleans I do think is noticeably better than the other early game stuff. But yeah, most of the early game stuff is crap. It is a shame though. I think Orleans could be fucking phenomenal if they really put it. I'd love to see an anime that took its time to like you have better characterization and more like character arcs for the antagonists, and you know, not so ABC with, oh, we're fighting him and then retreated, and then we fight him again at the end and we beat them, right? Like it's just so much of that, right? Ah, yes, Phantom. Actually, I don't think Lancelot was poorly used in Orleans. Like, I think it could have been used a bit better, but I think Lancelot was used pretty well, and he actually had one of the only early day badass moments. I even picked up on this when I was just playing through the Japanese version and I couldn't read anything, and then when I saw it in it was the same thing. I was like, yep, I figured out what happened. So, you know, basically most of the servants are being like controlled by Jolter, right? And they kind of have to do what she says. And so Lancelot, you know, he shows up with Sanson and they're supposed to, you know, be fighting and all that, but then they're ordered to retreat because the situation's not really working out. But because Lancelot's freaking out because of Joan of Arc, because, you know, reminds him of Artoria, which is, you know, fair enough. They had to do like the reverse thing in Fate Zero, so it's kind of a funny and believable twist on that. You know, he basically, remember in Dragon Ball Z, you had that bit where Vegeta was being mind controlled by Babidi, and it still affected him, but when Babidi told him not to fight Goku, he was like, fuck you, I'm fighting Goku anyway, right? And just rages out and, you know, kind of beats the mind control. Lancelot basically does the same thing. He's supposed to retreat, and he's like, fuck you, I'm killing this thing that looks like Artoria, right? That's pretty awesome, right? So honestly, if that was done well in an anime, that could be one hell of a badass moment. And then you have him, so Sanson retreats, so Lancelot's fighting on his own, and that happens canonically. Like when you play in gameplay, first you fight Sanson and Lancelot, but then Sanson retreats like he's supposed to, but Lancelot doesn't. And then you fight Lancelot alone, right? And so he's fighting the entire cast by himself, right? And obviously he gets taken out there, but you could make that a badass moment if it was, and it could have been in the game, right? If the game actually had visual novel storytelling at that point, you could, like, you know, have him, you know, fighting all these people and putting up a really good fight and turning all these crazy things into weapons and, you know, doesn't go down like a bitch, but in the video game, you just beat him in the gameplay and then he's gone, right? So in an anime, you really could make that awesome. Like, you could, you know, kind of have him, you know, in the earlier parts of the story, kind of just, you know, typical what you would expect, and then you have that, you know, big moment, and although he gets defeated early in the story, someone's got to die early in the story, right? He still goes out like a badass, kind of like, you know, Jekyll and Hyde do, right? So I honestly think they did Lancelot just fine, and I think if I remember correctly, they even make note of how powerful he is when you're fighting him and stuff, so Yeah, I think they did Lancelot just fine. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you could have done a little bit more with him than that, but it's kind of, you know, because he's a berserker, it's kind of, you know, he's not one of those berserkers that can talk and stuff, so it's hard to do a lot with Lancelot outside of him being a badass. Look at Fate Zero. Ultimately, Fate Zero didn't do anything with Lancelot's character outside of him basically being a badass and you just learning that he was actually Lancelot. Like, literally, he's just being a badass in Fate Zero and that's it. And that's pretty much what he does in Orleans. And fair enough, right? And most people like him because he is a badass, so it's like, well, what more do you want? So, I think he's okay. Now, I think the criminal sin is Vlad and Atalante. Those are the two that got fucked over, and they got fucked over because they didn't know how, this is, you can't tell, it's so obvious, all the day one content that with APOC, you can tell they didn't read the books, and they didn't want to read the books, and there was no anime, and they didn't know how, so like Vlad is a berserker and is different than how he is in APOC, because they didn't know how to do him like he was in APOC, because they couldn't be bought. And look at every fucking APOC character barely talks, is not characterized. Their My Room lines are super vague. Look at Shakespeare! Shakespeare! His My Room lines are really short and vague. It's like, what the hell? Like, all the day one APOC characters, you can just tell they were afraid to characterize because they didn't know how, because they didn't want to read the book. It's obvious! It's so obvious. Like, Atalante and Orleans is a joke, right? It's a joke, right? Like, and that's how all the APOC stuff is. It's obvious that they did that. And so they're the ones that got all the APOC stuff in the early stories. They get fucking screwed over, like, big time. VC Braun, thankfully, was actually written well in Lost Belt 1. That was great. Lost Belt 1 is good. I really stand by this. I think Lost Belt 1 is done very well. It's much better writing. Has a lot of, like, proper visual novel storytelling stuff. They characterized the characters just fine, totally true to their source material, and actually expanded on it. That's what really impressed me, was they actually expanded on the source material from APOC and in a logical way, right? Because the anime does not mention any of the stuff with like a VC Braun, like with his regrets and everything. They didn't do anything with that. But the books do. And so they obviously read, whoever wrote Lost Belt 1 clearly read the APOC books, because they wouldn't have known about all that stuff with the VC Braun if they hadn't, and then they actually, you know, expanded on that. So that was really good. And then Billy finally actually got to be a real boy and have a character and a character arc and actually do things and actually explained, you know, him. So that was nice, right? So Billy actually got to exist for once. And even Beowulf, some people complain about Beowulf, and I will say they could have done a little bit more with him, but they still characterized him just fine. And he has like the kingly stuff in there a little bit too. And he was looking to do some cool things. But yeah, I will say, Beowulf probably got the shortest end of the stick out of anyone in Lost Belt 1, but they didn't bastardize him, right? I wasn't like, oh my god, you all forgot what Beowulf does and how he, like, they did fine. They could have used him better, but it wasn't an insult to Beowulf, right? They still did, you know, they represented his abilities decently well and all that kind of stuff, so. Yep, yeah, I know, Fury. It's funny, too, because they actually say he's the strongest servant you fought up to that point. And you fought, you know, a lot of strong servants up to that point. So they obviously gave a nod to Caesar being this huge deal in Roman, you know, mythology or in history. Rightfully so. But yeah, they just don't do anything with it. And they're like, oh yeah, Nero's awesome though, guys. Nero's so cool. Oh yeah, Beowulf was way better in Lost Belt 1 than he was in America. No question. I feel like, am I the only one? I really feel like the writer of Lost Belt 1 directly looked at the America Singularity and was like, I need to fix this. Because, I mean, I've been saying for ages that the America Singularity did a lot of servants, not only dirty in characterization, but literally didn't even represent their lore abilities at all. Like, and it was like backwards. It was so fucking stupid. And a lot of the characters that got screwed over like that got to, you know, do things in Lost Belt 1. Like, oh my god, America was just, that is such a bad singularity in my opinion. There's so much wrong. Again, great, well not, I don't know if a great premise, but decent premise, but completely wasted and done so badly. Beowulf's a good character though, gameplay-wise too. Like, he just, you know, deals with a lot of extra classes for you. His second skill buff is awesome, gets good damage. He's a nice baseline berserker that has like reasonable balanced gameplay, but is actually good. Like, I really like it. Yeah, hopefully Geronimo gets redemption at some point. He's had some redemption though in like interludes and stuff. They've used him in like interludes and stuff decently well and that kind of thing. They've never really given him a chance to show off his abilities all that much. He has in like some events a little bit, but nothing really. Nothing like, you know, where they're actually getting into like what he does and stuff. But I'm hopeful. The thing is, I don't think Native Americans are like even remotely popular in Japan, so it's like such a detached thing from them that I don't know if they, you know, think about it much, so. Well, I mean, you know, Billy got a good shake in Lost Belt 1, and, you know, Bale was kind of in the middle. But, I mean, they were still, it's not like, you know, Billy got a lot of feats and stuff, and, like, you gotta kick a lot of ass. But most of, like, the focus of the story was still more on other people, I would say. I mean, he's, you know, he got a good bit, but the story focus was still on other people. But that's fine, you know, Billy's not really the type to be, like, you know, having some big character arc based off, like, the bad guys and stuff, right? Like, that's not really his kind of personality and everything. And so, but like the kind of, you know, input he would give and the way he would behave and stuff was still in character and all that. So overall, I think Billy was handled quite well in Lost Belt 1. And then he got some bonus points at, I just thought that was so funny at the end, right? When, what's his name? I forgot the bitch's name. What's the, Kadok, that's the name. When Kadok was trying to use his super command spell, and he's like, it's not over yet, and Billy's just like, nah. That was both unexpected and hilarious, but in character, right? Because I remember, this is what was so surprising to me. I remember thinking, I was like, wait, Billy's whole thing is like being unbelievably fast, you know, instant quick draw, god tier aim. I was like, there's no way Kadok could get away with this. And then Billy actually stops him. I was like, oh, okay. Like that's what one would expect. So that really, I mean, that made me happy because I was sitting there thinking, lore-wise, this is stupid. If they just have him get away with this for no reason, that'd be kind of dumb. But then he doesn't, and then, you know, Billy just blasts him, so. But yeah, Anastasia gets smacked instead, but, I tell you, that's like the most when life gets to you moment for her. I really need to get, an Anastasia emote that's just the when life gets to you, because that's so fitting for that bit. She gets shot there, and she's just kind of in Kadok's arms, laying on the ground, just like, I never liked guns. This is pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know how they would animate that part. They probably have it where she was just like right next to him and she just like, you know, got away. It is, with how Billy's stuff works, it is kind of silly that she could do that, but, you know, it's not like it actually saved them, right? So it's kind of plot armor and Kadok not dying. Like, obviously, they, like, ahead of schedule, you know, before writing it specifically, they knew Kadok was supposed to survive and Anastasia wasn't, you know. So they're kind of making sure that happens, right? It's like the whole dramatic thing. But it's not like some bullshit happens that like, oh, we win because somehow we can stop Billy's shot or anything. So it's kind of the whole, you know, love bullshit angle, but, you know, I can forgive it because it's not like it uprooted the story completely or anything. And I would imagine if they put it in anime, they would just have Anastasia like right next to that Arthur and that, like. Yeah, Ivan was more of like he set the backdrop of what was happening, right? Like he was kind of there to set up the situation and kind of compel the characters to do what they're doing and that kind of thing. But yeah, he himself isn't really in it that much. It'd be nice if they use Ivan again at some point. Yeah, Anastasia's lore abilities are very vague right now. It's really hard to say how powerful she is. She's certainly powerful. There's no, you know, it's clear that she's strong, but it's how strong is pretty random. because they don't really detail like what her castle NP does and that kind of thing. A lot of her abilities are just really, yeah, this does a thing kinda, and it's like, okay. Hopefully they fix that at some point. I don't even know why they were that vague with her though, because she's been out for so long. I don't really get it. Yeah, I guess the other Lost Belts, you know what's going to happen in advance, but that kind of made Lost Belt 1 special in that it kind of hits you, right? And they have the, you know, the bit with Antonio, with, you know, playing the music for the like, that really is messed up, because those kids don't even exist in the main, like, I think they get it so much worse than most people, because a lot of the people in the Lost Belts are basically alternate versions of themselves in the Lost Belt at least, right? So they still exist in, like, other timelines. If you return the history back to normal, they're still going to exist in some, you know, version. Now, that version of them with those memories and that, you know, sense of self and stuff is not going to exist. But, you know, some version of them exists. But those kids don't, because those kids were only born because of what happened in that Lost Belt and everything. And so they're just gone, right? They don't get to exist in any capacity in any other timeline ever, right? So that's pretty messed up. And they didn't, and like what Antonio said, they didn't even do anything, right? They were just born there. It's not like they were not responsible for any of the Lost Belt shenanigans. They're literally just children that happened to be born there, right? So it's really messed up. And so Scatty's different though. Scatty gets to keep existing, and that's why she's so messed up. Scatty is actually really interesting as a character, except they constantly use her as a joke, and it's really frustrating. But her actual storyline, like what you see in like her My Room lines, and like her interlude, and the like twice that they use her seriously, you know, is she's basically a survivor of that Lost Belt, right? The version of Scatty you have is not the pin history, it's not the normal timeline version of Scatty, it's literally the one from Lost Belt 2, but she's aware that, you know, you killed everyone else in that Lost Belt, and her version of Valkyrie is gone, and all that stuff. And so she's pretty messed up, like she's really depressed, and you kind of survivor guilt and all these other things. It's not great. So yeah, she's really interesting like that though, and it'd be nice for her to have a proper character arc, and yet every time they use her, it's just lol ice cream. I actually think it's a travesty to have, like, I feel like what happened was they planned on her dying in Lost Belt 2, just like Okanis isn't supposed to continue on past Lost Belt 5, even though obviously they could have done that and it would have been really interesting. So I think what happened with Scatty was they were just planning on her dying there and not continuing her character arc on, and as they were like, oh, you know what we could totally do with her character in her My Room lines and everything is, you know, we could kind of expand upon, you know, kind of where she ended it, but they weren't planning on doing any more with it than that. But I actually think it's an interesting enough, like, character development and everything, that they really should have, like, moved her on more in the main story, right? Like, that's a character arc you want to see, like, a completion to, but I don't think they're going to. I actually think Ku Alter's interlude is bullshit. It makes absolutely no sense based on, like, his character material book. And I'm pretty sure the versions, what they say is, like, the versions of Karna and Herc that he's fighting are, like, not fully actualized, so they're not as strong. But they're still strong. And that's, like, the only way it makes any sense, because it's just stupid otherwise. Like, sure, Ku Alter's powerful, but that's just dumb. Right? I don't think he could even beat Karna in a fair fight anyway. It doesn't make any sense. That's really implied in America because he ganked Karna instead of fighting him fair and square. Yeah, Scatty has an interlude. But if I do remember correctly, Saber, Alter, Herc, and Karna are not fully actualized, and they're not as powerful as they normally are. But it's still kind of nonsense. And again, Ku Alter is really powerful, but like that was just kind of like horseshit pandering to how the fans always like, oh yeah, Ku Alter's so good, guys. But that's kind of just nonsense. I'm not going to literally explain every ability that Ku Alter has. And yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, Karna was like available to be ganked because of the armor situation and all that. Like, I really don't think Ku Alter could beat Karna in a 1v1. Especially because in America he's stronger than normal because he has the Grail, and then outside of that he doesn't. Like, he could put up a fight, sure. I mean, Ku Alter's no joke, but I don't see him because if I will say this, Ku Ulter might be able to beat Karna if he had the cause effect reversal like regular Ku does, but he doesn't. He's like a super version of Deathflight. And so not having the cause effect reversal is a pretty big drawback in that matchup specifically. So. A lot of people think Ku Ulter has the cause effect reversal, but he doesn't, and they don't quite care about that. Right now, the only person that has cause effect reversal is Ku and Proto Ku, and it's highly implied multiple times by Natsu that Loth, his Ku's dad, has like an on-crack version of it. Which makes sense, because basically Ku reinvented what his dad did and he just didn't even realize it. I really hope they add Loth someday. Or just give him a design, for fuck's sakes. Well, Loth has both, by the way, because Loth has the NP that Bazette has, and what is his spear called? It's like, it doesn't have Bolg in the name, but I think it starts the same way, and then it's an A word or something. It's a weird fucking name. Anyway, but yeah, his spear is like Bolg, but way more extreme from what Natsu has said. It basically says it's like the best of both. It's basically constantly Deathflight and Barbed Death, like all the time. That's kind of what Natsu has implied with it, so it's ridiculous. So, okay, let me explain something. This is why everyone thinks all the Bolgs are the same, and they're not, right? The inherent thing that Bolg does is Throne, Go, Boom. That's the inherent effect that Bolg has, right? And then the different versions of Bolg and whatnot, and people made their own techniques and stuff for it, right? So the generic thing that Bolg do is Throne, Go, Boom. And it's supposed to be thrown from the foot, or shot from the foot for some fucking weird reason. That's in the Legends, and they reference that with Summer Scatty, funnily enough. So that's the inherent thing it do. Throw, Go, Boom. And every version of Bolg that we've seen on every character has a version of that, right? Throw, Go, Boom. Even regular old Lancer Scaths is like Throw, Go, Boom, with the extra added, freezing space time around the target, right? And so it says with Ku, regular vanilla Ku, after training with Scaths and after receiving Bolg and after leaving the Land of Shadows and everything, he developed, so he had the Throne Go Boom version, which is his, Deathflight, NP that he does against Emiya. But he developed his own technique with it, like manipulating the curse and whatnot, to do the cause effect reversal. And he says he made that himself to fit his own fighting style, because he doesn't really like the Throne Go Boom thing, I guess. And what they've implied is Loth had that technique as well, and even though Ku has never met Loth face to face, he just accidentally is following in his father's footsteps without even realizing it, and has kind of reinvented the technique that his dad did. Scoff doesn't have that because Loth's not her dad, and she just never invented that. She invented a different technique for herself, which is the space-time bullshit thing that she does. And then Ku Ulter isn't actually Ku, he's like a copy that was made by the Grail, and his version of Bolg also is like the default Throw, Go, Boom, but what he does with it is he adds, it's like a super boom, like it's like the biggest boom out of all of them, out of all the versions of Bolg that Throw, Go, Boom, his is the biggest boom, right? And it has like this organ attacking effect that it can do. So it's a thrown explosion that can attack people's organs directly and stuff. But there's no switching around of causality. There's none of that. Not a word implies that. And quite the opposite, because they specifically say that's unique to regular Ku because he made that technique. And then he has another NP with the remains of the monster and all that, where he enhances his body and stuff. That's a whole different thing. That's nothing to do with Bolg. And then Scath's is she does the Throne Go Boom, but before that she freezes the space-time around the enemy so they can't dodge and stuff, which is pretty, that's pretty good. And Proto Ku has the same thing, but that's because Proto Ku's, very similar to regular Ku. Yeah, they'll probably use him again, I would think. I mean, he's pretty popular and stuff. But I don't know, maybe they might. I think they're very likely to use him again in an event, right? In an event story. I don't think we're gonna see him in Lost Belt. If they ever use him in a main story again, it might be in 3.0 or 4.0 or whatever. I don't see him showing up in any Lost Belts. But yeah, major event maybe, and then maybe a future Singularity after Lost Belt shit is over. But he's, you know, he's popular, and yeah, he didn't get a great shake in the writing of America and everything, so it'd be nice if, yeah, they might use him again. I mean, I think he just fucked up Rama's organs in general, because his bulk can attack, you know, organs and stuff, not just the heart, where Ku's just goes for the heart. But the thing about regular Ku's is it also switches around causality, which is a pretty big deal. But in terms of like straight damage and stuff, Ku Alters is better, like just better. There's no way around that. There are a few differences though. There are multiple bonuses to regular Bolg, and they did this on purpose. They didn't want every version of Ku to like be the same thing and different or worse or better, right? Regular Bolg has an incredibly low mana cost, so it's like spammable. It's such a low mana cost, and it's not taxing at all. Where Ku Alter's Bolg is very taxing on him. It actually fucks up his body, and he has to use runes on himself to keep his body from like getting ripped apart, and that kind of thing. And its mana cost is higher and all that. And it doesn't have the cause effect reversal, but it can attack, you know, all organs in the body, and it's much bigger boom. You know, it's much more like, you know, brute force power, and that kind of thing. Also, you have to remember, Rama versus Ku Alter, that's not normal Ku Alter. That's Ku Alter on Grail Juice. And you put Rama on Grail Juice, and Rama's going to be bananas. Alright, we're just going to murder this guy. We don't really have, I think, the means to do anything too fun here. Wow, Kai hasn't done David's NP upgrade. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You know what? Let's do David's stuff. Why not? Yeah, I'll wrap up soon. I want to play Genshin Impact later anyway. I need to eat. Rama on Grail Juice would actually be pretty cool, because like him being able to spam some of his abilities would be pretty scary. I know what it's like to be hurting for sleep. Normally it makes sleeping easier though, normally anyway. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, but like again, no cause effect reversal, so you know it's susceptible to being stopped by a lot of things that Bolg isn't. But it just has way more upfront oomph. Although not always actually. That's one tricky thing about Ku's Bolg, is it's got the whole doing more damage based on how tough the enemy is, so it can scale up. If the enemy is crazy tough, regular Bolg actually will do an ungodly amount of damage. Dude, regular vanilla Ku is OP as fuck. Like, he is so powerful if he's not being nerfed by any stupid bullshit. As he's supposed to be. I actually don't think regular Bolg is too OP because, again, I think people don't realize how, you know, the Ku being Irish Hercules is not a joke. He's huge, and his feats in his life are huge. And I actually really like the way Bolg is done, because on the surface it's good but kind of underwhelming, but then when you think about it practically, it's like, wait, this thing is actually really good because its mana cost is so low. You know, this cause effect reversal is insane, and then it always scales up, so it's almost always fatal. But its upfront, you know, damage is only, you know, B rank and stuff. Like, I think it's done really well. It's so unflashy, but it's so good, and it's so fitting for the person, because he's all about punching up, right? And they pretty much say that about Bolg, is it's really good for punching up and fighting things that are like way stronger than you and whatnot. So I think it's really fitting. I think maybe they went a little far with it. I will say the damage scale up is a little much. And I actually think they kind of forgot about that. So if they ever use them seriously in a story again, I wouldn't be surprised if they forget about it, but I will see. They've never used Ku seriously again, ever, so. And actually, he might be able to kill Herc. Nasu has said, people always act like Ku can't beat Herc, but Nasu has said there's a chance that Ku could beat Herc. So we'll see. We don't know what all Ku's runs do. Now, he can't kill Herc all 12 times with Bulk, right? He can only kill him a few times, and then obviously Herc is going to build so much resistance to it that it won't work anymore. But that was a lot of damage. By the way, that we were not using an event bonus, and we had no event CE. No, God, Jesus. So, Nasu has talked about Bolg versus Herc, and the reason Herc doesn't like get completely whacked is not because of the rank, because Nasu has straight up said this multiple times. Ku can, because this is more of Ku being Ku and not Bolg itself, but Ku has a run where he can enhance his the rank of his abilities, and he can make Bolg A rank, and so he can get through God Hand that way. And Nazu did not pull that. Nazu had already said that about Bolg, and then when he was asked about Bolg versus God Hand, he brought it up again. The reason God Hand is a good counter to Bolg is because it'll still hit him in the heart, and it'll still scale up, and it will get all that nonsense, but there's no, he just comes back to life. Like, Ku kills Herc, he dead, and then he comes back, right? It's like, I'm back, bitches, right? And then God Hand gains resistance to what killed him every time it kills him. So yeah, you might be able to kill him 1 or 2 times, maybe 3 times, but there's no way. Even if you could kill him 6 times, by that point he's obviously going to have so much resistance to it that even though it'll hit him in the heart and everything, it's not going to kill him anymore, right? So there's no way you're killing Herc 12 times with Bolg alone. That's not going to happen. Now Nasu has said it's a difficult fight for Ku, but it's possible that Ku could win, but he didn't explain why. My assumption is the reason Ku has a chance of winning is because he has other runs that could be useful for fighting Herc, right? So there might be a way. Now I really stand by this. I think if you had a canonical fight in Fate Stay Night where there's no plot armor, there's no like goal of the plot, so anything can happen, and if Ku had Bazette instead of Kodomine, because obviously with Kodomine, Ku is fucked, because Kodomine is not going to help him in any way. Kodomine is actually nerfing Ku, so then Ku's screwed. But if it's Ilya, not Irisville, if it was Ilya and Herc versus Ku and Bazette, I think Ku and Bazette would win, because Ku would probably use the 1v1 run, because you'd have to use the 1v1 run to make Bolg high enough rank to get past God Hand, and then that would mean, Bazette is alone with Irisville, Ilya's Veal, excuse me, and Bazette would just destroy Ilya so easily, right? She just completely wreck her, and Herc can't do anything about it because of the run, and then, Herc would just fade away, and that's that. So, but yeah, with plot armor and everything, who fucking knows what they would do? Because that's such an undramatic thing that I don't think they would do it like that, but... Oh, well, if the 2 maids were there, so the thing is, they're not always going to be there, right? Look, the maids weren't there when Irisville's running around with Herc in the city, right? When they ran into Artoria, when they ran into Imia, they weren't there for any of those things. Now, if they went to the castle, then yeah, they would be there, and then that would actually be interesting. But that'd be pretty interesting. The one problem with that though is that if Bazette and Ku didn't know what was going to happen, I think it might be really tough for them. If they knew about the maids and they had a plan, I think they could still win, because Herc does not have a way to defend the maids from like Deathflight and things like that, right? But if they don't know, they could definitely get ganked and have a problem. Like if Ku's 1v1ing Herc and then the maids pop up, then Bazette might have a bad time, right? So it could be pretty interesting. You could have a pretty fun story play out in that situation. Honestly, I think just in general, regardless of what happens, Bazette and Ku versus Herc and Ilya could be epic as fuck, man. But we'll probably never get to see it. Basically, Kodomine was just aware that Bazette was just such a fucking threat that he just ganked her, and he just kills her before the war even starts. And he basically earns her trust and everything, right? So she thinks he's a really trustworthy guy and all these things. And literally, he's there with her when she summons Ku, and then right as she summons him, he just ganks her and just kills her, right? And she doesn't even see it coming. I don't think she's even aware that Kodomine killed her. I think he just blasts her. And technically, in some timelines, she lives. She's on like the brink of death, but she's super foobar, and she's out of it no matter what. And then sometimes she gets saved after the fact, but it doesn't matter. Barely surviving or not, she's still out of the war and loses her servant, so... I mean, I don't blame Kodomina was pretty wise doing what he did. She's fucked, man. Like, what the hell? She has got all these self-enhancements and runs and stuff, so she can be way faster and stronger than an Amogus normally can, and she can shoot lasers and crap. And then she has a goddamn Noble Phantasm. Like, fuck that. I'd gank the hell out of her too. Like, fuck. If you're gonna gank one, if you're Kodomine and you're gonna gank one master in that Grail War, you gank Bazette. Like, no question. She's such a threat. And she was literally summoning Irish Hercules. Like, seriously. Like, you don't want none of that nonsense. Okay, so yeah, I need to wrap up. We're going over a bit, and I'm going to stream again though in like 20 minutes or whatever. I'm gonna play some Genshin Impact. I did not get as much done here as I wanted. I was kind of procrastinating there, but yeah, thank you for hanging out, everybody, and having our woes about FGO's situation with the Prophets right now. But this is a chance for them to turn it around. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll be back 10-20 minutes to play some Genshin Impact, which I'm really behind on because I literally didn't play it any yesterday. Gon is pretty cool. I wish he would get some screen time. But Ku is still the best, by the way. Legit though, oh my god, I want Loft so bad, dude. He's so awesome. Like, his stories are crazy. Anyway, peace everybody. I will see those that want to see some Genshin Impact in like 20 minutes.